Treyblob, welcome back to the Sae Bae cast for your second. It feels like your 25th appearance or something like that, but really your second appearance. It's good to have you. How you doing, man?
Greetings, Earthling. I'm sorry. Hey, how's it going?
That will have a little bit of relevancy to this conversation, which I'm so looking forward to reading through the Word doc that you've created of this sort of Stellar Dawn RuneScape version of RuneScape, if that makes any sense to anybody. We'll get into it, obviously, but it's what we were talking about on a Say More episode of a sort of space themed RuneScape. Like, how fucking cool would it be to have a video game that's like sci-fi? It's sort of like in the future, but it still has that point and click mechanic, still the same classic interfaces, the inventory, the movement, the everything, like, but it's a completely different theme. And I just got absolutely obsessed, and I was reading through the Word doc that Trey created, and we're going to talk about it all today. So Trey, I don't know where we should start. Actually, I guess we should just give you the spotlight just for a second to give some additional thoughts, if you have any right now before we jump in.
Yeah, I think that when it came up on Say More, I could tell that you got exactly like you're on the same wavelength as me immediately because it was, and I say this in the document, but it's like I bought and haven't played RuneScape Dragon Wilds, but it's like, oh, the RuneScape universe with different types of games. But I think, obviously we love this game so much for, the ridiculous, stupid and bad mechanics that we just can't get away from. And so instead of redoing different mechanics in the same world, taking the mechanics of RuneScape and putting it in a different world, I think you and I just both like really just that appealed to us so much.
Yes. So I think before we again jump into this thing, I wanted to just share a few of the exciting things that I was thinking of when I think of a space themed RuneScape. One is that, and this is something you sort of hint at in the Word doc that we're going to cover and show the audience as well in a bit, is sort of like having those similar themes of having like a home destination where you first spawn into, and obviously it has like a similar goofy name as like Lumbridge kind of, but it's like a spin-off of that. So there's these elements that doesn't feel like an entirely new game, but it is entirely new. It has these sort of familiar themes. So like a RuneScape player or veteran, of 10 years plus will jump into this and feel kind of at home. Like they'll feel this sense of familiarity, and like weapons will feel relatively the same. A skill like mining will be like space mining or something. So there's going to be these elements, and it's, in my view, it would still have all the skills in the skill panel. Like nothing would be changed much. I will, I think, have a few disagreements with you on the Word doc, but 98% of it, I am just absolutely thrilled beyond measure. And I just think having that, I mean, and the thing is, it goes beyond just space and sci-fi. I mean, you could make like a Western RuneScape, like everyone has like rifles and stuff, and it's just, you got horses instead of boats or some shit like that. That would be the game where you could actually build the land big enough to properly fit horses. I mean, we can't in our RuneScape, obviously. I don't think horsemanship would ever work, but like there, with a point and click game like RuneScape, and how advanced and how like how mechanical things have gotten with PVM, for example, like there's just it's such a big scope for an additional project where it's just a totally different game, but still very, very much RuneScape. So with all that said, oh yeah, go ahead.
I think that it's so exciting, the idea of having a game that's like 99% like old school RuneScape, but at the same time, the fact that it would be a completely different game would allow for some of the things that we've learned in the past 20 years of RuneScape or the past 12 years of old school. And some of those things, I think so much about the things that I would love to see change that are too far gone, like the smithing skill, for example. Like it would lose the core DNA of RuneScape. You'd have to change so much from the foundation of smithing to make it to where it's, where we think it should be. And so, but kind of if it was a completely different game, we've learned those lessons, and we could approach it with some of those things in mind. And Jagex, has taken these 12 years, you can see it through their progression of releases. They've taken a lot of time trying to find what works and what doesn't work, and obviously they're still at it, obviously. But they've you can tell just in the way they've released things. You know, just something as simple as quests having the random chisel you need just in the room, you know, little stuff like that could be in every quest from day one. You wouldn't have this kind of weird jank of that we love of old school where Calfight Queen and Royal Titans are like unrecognizable from each other.
Yeah. And what you can do, because you mentioned it, smithing, is, I mean, there's so many weird, quirky things about this game and things that make absolutely no sense, but it's sort of like if you change it, you're going to really be changing a lot of familiarity for a very veteran like player base, and that just always feels off. Like if we were to really rework smithing in the way that some really radical people want it to be changed, where like Runite smithing is level 40 and Adamant's level 30, so you literally just do Doric's quest in 2 seconds and you're starting to smith full Addy. Like it's just out of control. But with a space theme or any different variation of RuneScape, you can truly go in and make it so, I mean, again, like we could fully reimagine this where maybe PVM is always these elements of things that you're getting. So like a blade, but you have to smith it potentially. And there'd be this nice economy. There'd still be like an Iron Man mode. It'd be like, what would Iron Man be? Like Spaceman, Spaceman mode. I don't know.
Oh, it's on here. It's on here.
Oh yeah. Okay. We'll get into it. So, anyway, it's just so much exciting stuff. Fully being able to rebalance things as well. I think I oftentimes think of a skill like crafting where like the fucking spinning wheel. I mean, I guess now you have some sailing components that actually make it worth it. But a lot of the time, like that spinning wheel and the little loom and the whatever and the clay oven, like none of that stuff feels important whatsoever. You have like one dominating meta and there's no real balance with these kinds of things. And I think with a fresh slate, being able to fully balance like weapons and gear. I mean, one of the things I would personally love as well is if gear, and again, we will jump into this doc at some point, but I want to just preface a lot of this stuff because these are kind of the thoughts I'm thinking initially. And one of the things about like old school RuneScape that I don't really like as much is the fact that we have gone down the route of armor having strength stats, which literally makes zero sense when you think about it. Why would wearing a heavy fucking thing on your chest or on your legs like have you do any more damage? It would feel like it would do less damage, you know, like you don't have free mobility anymore. But RuneScape's kind of like that, and we could, and again, it would be sort of like community decided or whatever, or maybe not community decided. We just fucking, and again, this is all completely just fantasizing about an idea like this. I don't know if this could ever be a thing. I mean, it could be a thing, but anyway, so just the fact that you can fully rebalance things that don't work properly or cause issues in the future, I think can be easily ironed out if you have a team that understands balance and understands, like, I don't know, just all these intricacies. So again, I'm really going way too far into this where we need to first establish the basics of what this would even look like. And I think your Word doc does a great job of just kind of explaining everything. And so I'm going to actually have you, Trey, kind of take us through these first few pages. And you can either do it sort of like verbatim or kind of add your own things as well. I think the verbatim would be nice if you already have kind of mapped out your words properly, because there are going to be people just listening in the car. But if you have a visual as well, guys can pull it up. So I'm going to pull it up here on my end and zoom it in. And we have some graphics included, which is super nice. So Trey, take us away, man.
Hell yeah. All right. This is a stellar proposal.
Ooh, explain what Stellar Dawn is too, I guess.
Oh yeah. So
I guess it's right here, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess I did put it there.
Yeah.
So first off, what is Stellar Dawn? Stellar Dawn, aka Mechscape, is a scrapped video game idea that took the core concepts and mechanics from RuneScape, RS3 now, it was just RuneScape, RS2, whatever, at the time, and put them into a science fiction world. It's not publicly known what caused this idea to never come to fruition, but it was likely a simple matter of money. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just, kind of talk between each of these kind of paragraphs here. So yeah, this is something that, once again, we talked on Say More, and it was just like, oh, what would be something I think the question that prompted it was, what would you like to see Jagex like? Oh, it was,
It was the
what media
media
would you like
question.
to see
Yeah.
them make? That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, it was just like they had this thing, and the proposal of it, like what they had planned to make, is something I would never want to see, because it was at, you know, the pinnacle of RS3, like the when everybody was quitting and stuff. I think it was like 2011, 2012. Um, and yeah, nothing I'd really be interested in. And it sounded like, I remember, I mean, I've only heard about this from your episode with Mod Ash. Um, and I remember him talking about like a lot of like, I don't know, it just felt like you were going to be sitting on a ship, or sitting on like driving around a lot. And I don't know. Anyways,
And the
we'll move on.
graphics weren't the same either. Like you could tell
Oh
it was
yeah.
at an era, like you were saying, of sort of like pushing the boundaries of this, and like graphics need to be really good because that's what all the players want. And so it just like I felt like their priorities were completely backwards at that time
Oh yeah.
period, like many game studios. And so I think we have learned a lot since then. And I guess yeah, I that's really all I have to say. So I guess we'll just continue, and then we'll just share thoughts after each sort of paragraph.
Yeah. Okay, what is this document? This is simply a creative exercise because I truly think that Stellar Dawn could be an incredible game. I think that a lot of people, when proposing an expansion to the world of RuneScape, miss what makes the game so unique. Jagex has released RuneScape Dragon Wilds, a survival crafting game set in the world of Gielinor. I don't think this is the right way forward. To me, what makes RuneScape great is not its fantasy setting, but its mechanics. RuneScape, and more importantly, old school RuneScape, is a point and click, real time, turn based rhythm game. There is no other game quite like it. I think instead of taking the world of Gielinor into other mechanical genres, Jagex should make a game that takes the same mechanics and feel of old school RuneScape and put them into another setting. For Stellar Dawn, that is science fiction or space fantasy, but we won't get into that.
Ooh. So let's actually read these disclaimers first, and then I'll have a few thoughts.
Okay. All right, these are my disclaimers. This is obviously not to be meant to be a real proposal to be used by Jagex to design the game. It is just a pitch of what the game could feel like. Number two, and I think more importantly for this, all of the names used here are intentionally based off of existing content in old school RuneScape and other science fiction IP. This is meant to show players of that game where the content I'm proposing would fit into the game, into a similar place to where it fits into old school RuneScape. So yeah, when I was making this, I was kind of looking at, I actually pulled up the leagues page of their areas and was trying to kind of just be like, okay, the leagues, you know, the different kingdoms, and just kind of see like, okay, what could I turn, like I basically picked a kingdom of RuneScape and picked a sci-fi world and melded them together to kind of, you know, try to give like a spectrum of everything, because I love science fiction. I love the range of science fiction, you know, from something as fantastical as Dune to like Project Hail Mary, or even like the Martian, or something that's supposed to be, or Apollo 13 that's supposed to be like real life space stuff. Any of that spectrum I love, and I would hope to see notes of that shining through, which I think for a RuneScape type game, you would really lean into the space fantasy of it. You know, you got to go big. You got to get big creatures and stuff. But I would love to see. But all that to say, yeah. So everything in this document is very intentionally and very punnily based on things in RuneScape and existing science fiction IP.
Awesome. Yeah, I first of all, I gotta say I love the graphics too. But um, yeah, I think the way you have sort of just immediately pitched this is it is something that's fascinating, because I don't think many people, and it literally was brought to my attention on that Say More cast, of like the idea of actually having a RuneScape mechanics into a different form of a game, instead of it being like
Mhm.
Dragon Wilds. You know, like Dragon Wilds is just
Yeah.
totally RuneScape theme, but it's just got like totally or not odd mechanics, just very mainstream mechanics that we're all. It's just it's not as interesting to, I think, a RuneScape player base. I think a game like what we're going to be pitching is very much centered on a RuneScape audience. I think like that's what it really is speaking to, people that already kind of understand the basics of like old school RuneScape. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I guess let's jump into the theme. It gets so interesting down below, and really, really excited to talk about some of these like in-depth things. So let's talk about
Yes.
the theme of it.
Okay, yeah, and this is so important to me. Okay, the pitfall of so much of science fiction is a drab post-apocalyptic future. Everything is either as sterile and white as an Apple product or as gray, black, and sad as my MySpace page in high school. What old school RuneScape does so well is present a world that is varied, colorful, vibrant, and never takes itself too seriously. I want Stellar Dawn to be just as fun as old school RuneScape with the optimistic future of Star Trek, the epic space opera of Star Wars, and the beautiful galactic palette of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Um,
Yes.
I,
Beautifully
I do
written.
have to. I was just about to apologize. Oh man, we my this is side tangent. This is a homeschooler who wrote this, and
Hey, this is
we
gorgeous. I would not
my,
even. I would not. I would say don't take anything away from this. This is perfect.
okay, all right,
I will say
okay,
writing things though, and then speaking them verbatim is a little odd, but
yes, oh yeah.
it feels great to me at least. So
I can confirm that is not just a one-off joke. My MySpace page was so bad. It was the most stereotypical MySpace page. It had the Spider-Man 3, like the black Spider-Man suit with the rain as my background. And then it started playing Evanescence Bring Me to Life when you clicked on my
dude,
page.
you were a Giga Chad. You were a Giga Chad. You're good. I never.
Dude,
I
MySpace,
Yeah.
best social media of all time. I still think that the customization of your page was so cool.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I mean, it was a fucking brilliant idea. I had a MySpace, but I think I was on it for a total of 5 minutes. My brother got me into it. I was a Facebook kid. I jumped into Facebook
Oh yeah.
too early on. Yeah, but you're right about OSRS doing a great job of having a more vibrant world that it feels like. I mean, honestly, RuneScape in a lot of ways feels like uh, a world I would want to live in, low key, where it just
Oh
feels
yeah.
like things are figured out in much of the world, but then you got really corrupt areas that are dark and fucked up, and there seems to be like the goal of your character and everybody else is to kind of like restore balance to the place. It feels like, and
Hmm.
still having that similar vibe and having because I like the idea of like Star Trek having, and again, I'm very unfamiliar with Star Trek, but I know the general theme is just a more solved Earth, and now they're exploring
Hmm.
space and they're kind of seeing what's happening out there. I like that where there's still this danger looming outward, but there's sort of like a solved at least like initial planet or something that feels like peaceful and whatever else. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, and
yeah.
the other like the tone side of it, I just think RuneScape has like it feels like, and it probably is, and maybe it's just because they're British, but it feels like all the J mods grew up watching Monty Python. It's just
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
There's just always nothing is too serious. I mean, there's the quests that are like out and out jokes, but like even the biggest Grandmaster quests, there's always your character's going to do something epic, and then he's going to bonk his head or something, or there'll always
Mhm.
be something that it doesn't get too dark, it doesn't get too serious, and it's just it's like tongue in cheek the whole time, and I love that.
Yeah, you're right. That is a great analogy of Monty Python. Anyway, so lore. Let's get into
All
that.
right, let's hop into the lore. All right, so this is completely ridiculous, but anyways, all right, lore. In the darkest depths of World War III, British scientists sought to create a new bomb that could change the tide of the war. What they stumbled onto, however, was a new manipulation of atomic energy. The two lead scientists, Andrew and Ash, knew that this new energy would only be seen as a new power in the war, but not something that could, like an atomic bomb that could level a city. This could erase a continent. They fled, taking their work with them. They created a guerrilla lab in London and began to create what they saw as the true purpose of their discovery: interstellar travel. When Andrew and Ash brought their first prototype to the British government, they were lauded as visionaries and established the Organization for Space Research and Settlement, aka OSRS. The first base
I love
the
that.
first base was established in London and was called Lundbridge. The humans of Earth soon started launching crafts into space, and with their new innovations, easily treaded into galaxies beyond the Milky Way. What they found answered one of the most basic questions of humanity: we are not alone. Far from it.
That is wonderful. It is so good. I love the OSRS. It's so good. I mean, and again, you prefaced all this by saying we're not taking this is not a real proposal. We're obviously
Yeah.
being silly and stuff, but it at least kind of gives you some background and just I feel like a little bit of charm to it, which I think you did a great job. So I want to say, in my view, what the lore would be is completely separate from like Earth or like World War III. It would still be in this Gillinor
Hmm.
universe. So like it's literally just what I don't even know the lore of RuneScape really, like old schools at least. It's like what age are we in right now? Like in old school, because I know we have like
The
the third age armor and stuff and second age and first age presumably, but like what age are we currently in?
I believe we are in the fifth age, but
Okay.
I'm scared to say that because I don't know for sure.
I almost imagine a sort of space themed RuneScape to be like seventh age or eighth age or just something that
Mm.
I think seventh age kind of or sixth. We'll just call it sixth, seventh age now. Not
Nice.
doing it too
Yes,
bad,
of course.
but like seventh age or something that feels like time has progressed in RuneScape. So you have this like, I mean, seriously, imagine spawning into RuneScape, but instead of it or spawning into Lumbridge, but instead of it being a castle, like everything's fucking different. Like there's space platforms and everything else, but it's still that same kind of familiar land structure that's definitely been altered. But this is like Gillinor is simply just just one place. I mean, it's just this is like the basic home space that you're in. And in fact, like all of Gillinor is kind of like that first initial planet, you know? And then everything else beyond that is sort of different and again like a completely clean slate that you could go into. I do think there's something very charming about seeing a futuristic Gillinor and Zaya. Like
Hmm.
imagine what that could look like, especially if we were to do a little bit more redesign as well. I think that would be appropriate in a new game of like spacing things out better, making trees feel, I don't even know if there would be trees. I mean, who knows what this space like more futuristic place would look like, but it would be fucking cool to just see that. I mean, I don't even think there'd be such there wouldn't. I mean, there wouldn't be sailing, there wouldn't be these like fucking basic shops and stuff. Like everything would be pimped out hundreds and hundreds or thousands of years from where we currently are in the fifth age. And I think being able to still explore that area and just like see what the and like think of the wilderness becomes peaceful, you know, like in on Gillinor at least, like everything is kind of solved on Gillinor, like everything, like all the issues, all the like Darkmire, Berg de Rot fucking areas have been cleaned up and just beautifully restored to like some futuristic kind of world. And then the wilderness is just this beautiful lush land that's been fully, you know, cleaned up, and there's rule of law, and it's this perfect society basically. So like Gillinor, and again, this is just my own view, but like that would be the sort of starting setting, is like everything has been figured out here on Gillinor, but we have now designed spaceships and there's a bunch of space exploration and there's like a bunch of, I don't know, just shit going on out there. So you got to like get your spaceship. And I imagine the spaceships would be something like sailing akin. Maybe, I don't even know if we need to do that. If we actually, I don't know. We'll get into it a little bit more, but that's
Yeah.
kind of how I'm thinking.
No, that and yeah. We'll get into it later. Okay, so this is where we're starting to get into some actual mechanical stuff.
Yes.
So starting character. All right. So when creating an account in Stellar Dawn, you will spawn in Lawnbridge. Depending on your account type, you will be guided through a tutorial before being given the option to launch into the universe beyond. Here are the options you'll have when creating your character. Side note, the idea that different game modes are different races allows you to quickly identify another player's mode instead of just seeing their helmet in the game chat. Also, every account type will have a hardcore variant. So we get all of these different game modes. We have hardcore main, we have hardcore whatever. But this is one of my favorite parts of this, is the idea that you have different race, and this is something I would love in old school as well. Different races are tied to different account types, so you don't have to like, you know, you crash somebody and then or like you're in the wilderness in a PK and you type something just so they know you're an Iron Man, just on the off chance that they'll let you live.
Yeah.
You know,
Just see
with
it
all
at a
the
glance now instead.
yeah. Um, So yeah, I guess before I get into these, what are your thoughts on that general idea of different races and every account type having a hardcore variant?
I okay, so because it's space and more sci-fi, I'm actually very open to the idea of actually selecting a different race because it kind of makes sense if you're thinking of a world that has been very much solved. I mean, that probably means science and biology has been kind of solved, so it means you can probably like alter your genes and whatever else and just kind of make yourself
Hmm.
some superhuman type vibe, which I get. I one of the things I love about RuneScape though is the fact that everyone is the same race. Like you don't have some crazy short dude that still has the same power as a jacked ass like robot and things, but and it just feels a little odd, like where
Yeah.
why are you like so much shorter and plumper than this Giga Chad over here, yet you're doing more damage because his level's smaller. Like I kind of like that vibe of everybody kind of looks the same. However, this can still work because I have it pulled up right here. I mean, we have many different races, or just styles of character you want, and I think this could still work. It just one of the things I think I'm initially kind of freaking out about is like Android. Like if you already are a robot, it almost feels like, why are you equipping armor at that point? Like you're already a
Yes.
fucking machine. So that is
Hmm.
where I get a little bit more. If it's all life, if it's just like a life form, everybody's a life form, then I can kind of get it. But yeah, as soon as we entering like machines and stuff, I'm just like that sort of defeats the purpose of like wearing armor traditionally. So
Oh yeah. Okay, so we'll get into them. So, first off, we have human recruit. So this is your basic human. This is recommended for first-time players and is considered the main game mode. You will be taken through a full tutorial of the game and have full access to all game mechanics, including trade, mech suit, and player-owned craft. Um, Pretty basic. Then we have human soldier. So this is basically, this is still a main mode with full functionality, but is allowed to skip the tutorial. Ideal for second account and bots. Just it's it's nice to be able to skip the tutorial. Okay, so now we have freed Visian. So just skip ahead a little bit. The Visians are what are replacing the Vyres. So the Visians of Morikuri are an alien race that are seen as deceptive and untrustworthy. You will start as a Visian who has been freed from prison. You will not be able to trade with any other players, and your quest lines will be slightly altered due to your alien race. So this is essentially the Iron Man. You're seen as untrustworthy, and people don't want to trade with you.
love
Uh,
it.
then we have the android. You are a robot, artificial intelligence. Robot androids are not given the rank of sentient and therefore do not have the ability to trade or own property, including a player-owned craft. So this is kind of this is like ultimate UIM
Yeah.
because it's as you'll see later, it's extremely restrictive. This is like sadistic mode. I just threw it in. I just kind of threw it out there to I don't know.
I
It's
fucking love
worse
it.
than UIM. Okay, then we have Gobbling Scoundrel. You are a short green gobbling who has chosen a life of questionable morality. You must first acquire an item yourself before the Exchange Federation will believe that you didn't steal it and trade with you. So this is our official Bronze Man mode, essentially.
Oh, so dope.
And then we have the marauding Dagonauts. You and up to 9 others of the gray and scaly Dagonaut race have sided with the Hunters Union. You may only trade with others of your gang and only purchase items inside of the Hunter Union outposts. Any items pillaged from other players are given to the Hunters Union in exchange for bounty credit. So this is kind of a group, but it goes up to 10. It's basically, yeah, you're like a gang of scoundrels. Um, and it gives some functionality to GIM of you have this hunters union that you can kind of trade with, and it would give you some maybe some things to do with items, like some things to do with dupes or some optional ways to turn your items, make your items useful. But I just love the idea of you can just have this like group, your classic like bounty hunter group of that kind of science fiction, like your Cowboy Bebop, or even like just like Star Wars, your ragtag group of bounty hunters.
Yes. I will say,
Um,
I'm more and more interested in this sort of different races. I think I still lean on having it be life. I think as soon as it becomes artificial intelligence, like I actually can kind of get it because it's a totally separate mode. So
Mhm.
as long as you kind of just I don't know, suspend disbelief just for a bit and just imagine, okay, like we're just doing this for the distinction. Basically, it's not actually about like they're a robot that has like extra hit points or something. And I also suspect that in most places around this game you are wearing some sort of space armor, so most of the
Mhm.
time you're going around these like hostile planets, you're wearing something, whereas in Gillinor oftentimes you just fucking wear whatever you want, you just wear nothing, just walk around. So I do think in a way it'll be kind of hard to distinguish when you're on different planets,
Yeah,
like
that's
everyone's
kind
gonna
of
be
what I
different.
was thinking too.
But as long as there's like a menu of just like you right click a guy and it just shows their symbol, I think that'd be also appropriate. But
Mhm.
yeah, it won't be the immediate like knowing if they're an Iron Man or not.
And you could always, Android could very easily, you could find and replace that with Cyborg, which would still have the robot idea, but you'd still have
True,
like a humanish
half
skin.
human, so you still can die. There's still like that mortality aspect to it, kind of. Yeah,
Mhm.
I actually, yeah. If this was like Cyborg, immediately I feel better. It's my own grievances. Just ignore me. Anyway,
Yeah, you just got to put the Arnold Schwarzenegger skin over the robot, and
yes,
it'll make you feel better.
yes, please, yes, please. By the way, you know what would be really fucking cool? Well, you know what's so cool about this game, by the way, is the fact that we are gonna have. I feel like most of the sort of. Well, I don't know. Actually, now that I think about it, I guess if you're wearing this armor and stuff, you're just gonna have futuristic melee weapons too. I keep thinking for some
Mhm.
reason, at most shit's just gonna be shooting beams at stuff and like shooting things with laser guns. But yeah, I mean, in my view, I do want a combat triangle to make sense still. Like I love that range, mage, melee, and of course there is no magic technically in this game, and we're gonna get there. So I guess let's just continue down into the world.
Yeah, yeah. Um, this part, I feel like I might have gotten carried away just because I was having so much fun with it. But we'll start with the world. So, the world of Stellar Dawn is a handful of systems. You'll be able to travel between them freely, assuming you have access to them. You're not meant to be constantly traveling to tiny planets that have one interesting thing on them, cough, cough, sailing. Rather, each planet is equivalent to a kingdom in old school. And as such, I will use the areas from the League's game as a template. So first off, we have Earth/Lawnbridge. Lawnbridge is your starting city. You will have access to a futuristic London with shops and activities fitting to a starting player. Earth is quite behind the rest of the galaxy in its technological progress. This is by far the smallest system and meant to be left quite quickly. Think of it as half Lumbridge, half Tutorial Island. So you got your starting area, Lumbridge, nothing crazy. We have Mist Curie. The Miss Curie system is the first settlement of humans outside of Earth. You will find many types of content, mostly tailored to early to mid game, but as you explore the universe, you will uncover much more that Miss Curie hides. Then we get into this. Oh, I'm excited about this one. We have the Karamjite Asteroid Field, or the KAF. The KAF is an expansive territory of hundreds of asteroids that have been pulled into the orbit of an enormous volcanic asteroid called Musafar. Musafar was created when a planet was pulled into the orbit of a dwarf star. After millions of years, life remained on Musafar. Its inhabitants, the stone-skinned, morally wrecked. The,
I love that.
the heat the heat from the core of Musafar is so intense that it spreads throughout the KAF and has allowed primitive life to form throughout the asteroid field, resulting in a sea of mossy green rocks. Musafar itself is home to the capital city of Musafar Point, where a great profit from all around is found in its unique metals and crystals. Beware, though. Legends say that deep in the molten crags beneath the surface of Musafar live creatures made only of fire and stone.
Damn. So fucking cool. All right, continue. We got some more.
All right, next we have Al Caracas. Al Caracas, Doom, Desert Planet. Sorry. All right, Al Caracas is a sandy wasteland, but not without its merits. The spaceport, mostly Calphite, is a hive of scum and villainy. In Stellar Dawn, that's not a bad thing. You will find the headquarters of the Hunters Union, and if you trek into the deep desert, you will find formidable creatures and incredible treasures. Next up, we have the Gorok Graveyard. The Gorok Graveyard, simply called the Wilds by Pleasant Folk, is a system under control of the self-proclaimed Justiciar Federation. The Justiciar Federation is made up of a rebel army of Klingions. God, I can't. Sorry. A skeletally thin race of warmongers. In this system lie the wrecked remains of many starships that players may seek and pillage, but be warned, the Klingions encourage war. Player versus player combat is enabled in all of the Gorok Graveyard.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that I would be very interested to see how that would look, like going back to that conversation of approaching, and refreshing and with a blank slate, like how you would like all of the problems that the wilderness has had and all of the changes they've made, if they were to start completely over, what that would look like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, seriously, like being able, and again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, like having a fresh slate to balance weapons, like truly balance weapons. Because at that point, what you can do is never have, if you're strategic enough and understanding like futuristic or under, what am I trying to say? If you're looking forward enough, you can actually prepare for what's to come with like slight power creep. And I just think we have a game right now that's so patchy. It's just like patch upon patch upon patch. And it's like the wilderness has all these exceptions because there's just no coherent, like, sort of balancing with it all. It just feels very, very everywhere, like little paint blotches everywhere. So it would be so fucking cool to actually have weapons that, first of all, I mean, I have to say this as well in regards to weapons, like just being able to feel like any weapon is an upgrade. I think I said this on the Say More episode, or maybe it was on some Sae Bae cast, but just like the simple fact that like using a bronze longsword that's 5-tick is just worse than punching something. It's just like out of control. Like why I'm swinging this massive heavy metal thing at you and somehow my fists or my foot is going to do more. And it's like the just sort of balancing that makes things better. And I think going forward with the balancing with PvP, having a fresh slate, having people, again, just in my mind, if this were to ever become a thing, having an actual educated team on OSRs and trying to balance things absolutely properly would just be such an amazing thing. So I do love that there's still like that PvP aspect. Ooh, you know what's got to be kept though? 20-second freezes in place. That needs to be kept until the end of time. Just remembered. All right.
Maybe they could shoot like a jammer. That feels very sci-fi. They jammed your mech suit.
Yes. See, it's that kind of stuff too. And we're gonna get into it, obviously. Like the fact that there's no magic, quote unquote, but there's like just futuristic technology sounds fucking cool. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I love that part of it. Okay. So next we have Replicon, which 2K is in there to let you know that it's based on Relica. Replicon was an experimental spacecraft designed as a pleasure barge, entirely crewed by androids. There seemed to be a slight error in their programming as they turned the galactic cruise into a moon colony bloodbath.
Ooh, pause.
Once the living...
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, you should just call it Replica, because then it's like replica, but it still has like, but you know, anyway, just being annoying. All right, continue.
Once the living organisms of the ship had been taken care of, the bots began work turning the ship into a planet. They traveled around scavenging parts until their home was less of a starship and more of a Death Star. However, their designer, Maud Asimov, infiltrated into their mainframe and managed to reprogram peace into them. The cyber planet became known as Replicon, and its android inhabitants, the Fremenkits. The Replicon was given over to the Dagonauts as stewards and is now a thriving space destination.
Look at these! Look at these little house machines. They look like the fucking Baba Yaga home. Baba Yaga. Yeah. Baba Yaga. Wait, Baba Yaba? Or Baba Yaga?
No, I think you. Okay. Baba Yaga. It's with the G.
Yeah. It didn't sound right at first. Please tell me those are our player-owned houses. No, we could. I mean, we could have our ships, our starships, but we could also have our player-owned houses that are just walking around. So we actually are like passively traveling somewhere while like doing things in your house. That'd be fucking interesting.
I think my favorite type of sci-fi, and this is going to be big in the next area, is where like the machinery and like just like the living world is like intertwined. And like in that picture you're talking about, just like
Yes.
the houses with the plants all growing up through them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, we have Morikuri. The Vissian origins are not known. Wherever they came from, they descended upon Morikuri like a pestilence. They colonized a peaceful wooded colony, and it was turned into a swamp-like environment under their rule. The environment is full of buildings with their first floors submerged in water and mossy roots. The only thing is keeping the buildings from collapsing. The Vissians are despised across the galaxy, but you may find there are plenty of things worth traveling for. Maybe their legendary cryoscythe?
Ooh. So
All right,
fucking
and
dope.
finally,
Yeah.
we have Prifdar. The Vulcan winds of Prifdar are a telepathic species that hold intelligence above all other traits. Their ambition has led them to hold high-ranking positions in most major federations. Their home planet of Prifdar is a stronghold of historical artifacts. Their library is known around the universe for having documents about societies and planets that even those cultures have long forgotten. Their psionic abilities are crucial for any account.
Ah,
Dot
I
dot dot.
am. I'm getting so excited about this, and just to think, and again, for the audience right now that's really PBM focused and OSRS, like just think of how fucking cool it'll be to go on like a raid on a separate planet. And I have to say this as well because there's so many ideas in my head, like abstract ideas that I feel like I'm connecting with, but it's just obviously I need
Mhm.
to explain this in words. But how I imagine actual PVM is I want it to be very similar to RuneScape because what I don't want is us to be trying really brand new crazy things when we know what works in old school. You know what I mean? Like, so
Mhm.
I love the idea of just three basic, and of course we're gonna get into this. I keep like kind of rushing ahead, but like three basic like prayers and stuff, and then like having like a fucking scythe that you're working toward. That's like some crazy mechanical technological Giga Chad weapon that is just it feels like that same scythe power. And I don't know. I really would love again like the actual playing it, like going to fucking Prifdar, going to Morikuri and doing the raid there, and feeling this very very similar RuneScape feel. Anyway, but without going too much further, there's gonna be so much more I want to talk about with that, but I shouldn't rush ahead. So, do you have
No,
any
yeah.
thoughts on these places or any more
Well, I
thoughts?
will just to respond to what you said. My version of this game that I have in my head, I would be the biggest like complaint towards it that I would be okay with is people saying it's just a reskin because that's how close I would want it to feel to old school.
Yep.
So I would 100% agree with what you're saying about the mechanics feeling exactly the same. You
Yes.
know, if people played it and were like, "Oh, they just reskinned it," I would be like, "Yeah, that's kind of the point."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, you can have a reskin, but like we have like a new continent like Varlamore. Like think of just how cool it is now having all three parts of Varlamore out there. And it's like that's a full
Mhm.
new place to explore and engage with new items, new NPCs, new fights, new everything. Like it's basically that, but everything is sci-fi. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I want people to really really understand this because obviously we're seeing visuals of like all these like crazy graphics or whatever, just like sort of this is only to kind of get into your mind like the idea of like a space theme, but everything will kind of look like old school RuneScape. It'll have that very charming classic thing. I mean, I'm literally have my game pulled up right here on anybody's end. So like just imagine me instead of fishing right here, having a full spacesuit and a fucking like mechanical scythe that's just like destructive, but I still have my inventory here. I still have my stats. I still have my bag, my spells, which would be like some mechanical that again it wouldn't be magic. And then like prayer would not be prayer. It would or potentially it would be, but it would be some more like sciency type of protection, you know, to your
Mhm.
armor or something like that. So we're obviously going to get into this because I remember you saying stuff like that. So let's, without further ado, can we jump into these mechanics so I can start just fucking
Yes.
frothing
Yes.
over all this? All right.
It's funny. I mean, I feel like I predicted this because my combat when I get down to combat, it starts off with okay, here we go. So I definitely knew that's like the part everybody wants to get to. But all right, we'll go to mechanics. So, all right, enough of the preamble. Let's get down to gameplay. First off, let's talk about some general concepts that will make Stellar Dawn unique from old school, but will keep the same core of the gameplay. And obviously, this is where, when we get into mechanics and combat, this is where I start taking some bigger swings. And obviously, super, super rough, super open to, you know, any changes. This is just a rough draft. Anyways.
And I'll also say, like, I love that there is a fleshed out, not fully fleshed out, obviously, but like a relatively fleshed out idea, because that at least allows the engagement. And I'm gonna be engaging with you on this because I feel like there's just little things as well that I just want to share just as ideas to just expand upon. So
All right. So first off, we have your player-owned craft, which does need to. It would have to have a better name because instead of POH, it's POC, and I feel like there's just too many jokes about your POC. Anyways, the player-owned craft is your own personal spaceship. This is essential to your experience in Stellar Dawn because it will take the place of teleportation, sailing, banking, and your player-owned house. Your first player-owned craft will be purchased in Lawnbridge, and it will allow you to leave and explore the rest of the galaxy. Here's a big sentence. Stellar Dawn will have no banks. Instead, your items will be stored in the cargo hold of your player-owned craft. The cargo hold will be accessible from the outside of the ship, so players can still have the same bank standing experience as they interact with their player-owned craft at a spaceport where other players' ships are parked. Throughout the world, there will be different methods to send items to your cargo hold. Banking is a core mechanic of old school RuneScape, and I intend to keep the feeling the same. Next, Stellar Dawn will not have magic, at least in the same way as old school RuneScape, more on that later, but teleportation and getting around the game quickly, as well as unlocking teleports, is such an essential part of old school RuneScape. Shout out to the Diary Cape. Your mech suit will have a particle recall ability, which is essentially a teleport back to your ship. From there, you'll be able to instantly fly your ship to an unlocked destination in the same way you teleport in your POH and then to wherever you want to go. I would love to incorporate more ways to quickly get around, and I'm sure there are many in-universe ways to accomplish that without magic. Finally, your player-owned craft will work the same as your player-owned house. You will constantly be working towards upgrades that will be invaluable to your account. Note, the Android will not have access to a player-owned craft, making them similar to a UIM, but potentially even more restricted. They will have to rely on charter ports to traverse around the world.
I love this. So what I imagine is the game will feel a little bit different where like your POH or POC, this is a ship that's obviously traveling you everywhere. That is going to be the biggest, I think, change to like this type of game. So like your bank,
absolutely.
Your bank is always just there on your ship. Now, I will say I have one potentially I don't know, maybe like a potential problem with this is like it's sometimes fun to bank stand with people, you know, like you want to go to a central location. I think there should be ship hubs that are like these big areas that are markets and stuff and have a lot of things going on. And then you have like this general sort of like bank type place that is just accessing your ship's storage ultimately. So everything is being transferred locally across any sort of place where you can quote unquote bank, but it's all relative. Like it's all going to just be attached to your ship. At least that's how I imagine it, because I would like these kind of local hubs that you can just like chill there, still access your bank without actually going in physically into your ship to access your bank or whatever. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, that's so I see like your player-owned craft as it is only a spaceship for like interstellar travel. So when you know, it's kind of like your car, you bring it to the parking lot and then you go into wherever you're going to go and do all your things. But so yeah, I see it as when you travel to a location, you will only be able to travel to a spaceport, which will be designed, in the same way as like a bank, where there's a central spot where everybody's like, I don't know if your ships would just stack on each other, or maybe there's a central like box that is essentially your cargo hold that everybody can stack on, or there can be kind of like the GE where your ships are like circled up and, you know, just randomly allocated, or there could be something really fun where, like, if you imagine like a circle of ships and like all the noobs, there's just stack up on the edges, but whoever has the most pimped out ones are like visible, and it could be like a flexing thing. But that core idea of still everybody is in the same zone where they can still shoot the shit with each other and do their bank standing kind of stuff. I 100% would want to keep that.
Yeah. I also wonder, this is very random, but there's a part of me that imagines like if a game were to be developed relatively soon like this, which there's just zero chance of at the moment, but if it were to, I would actually be resistant to legitimately going out on your ship and being like and actually navigating your ship in space. I think that's something like way more in the future. I think like what we should do is just kind of what we've done with charter ships and old school, where like it's just like immediate
Mhm.
transferring into like the next port. I just think there's way too much difficulty and mechanical and engine work and everything to like get fucking actually flying your spaceship like to feel right, especially with a point and click game. You know, like it'll just feel like you're on a 2D plane, like just like a plane, and that's all. Like there's no depth. You know, it just I'm worried about that sort of like lack of geometry with actually navigating your ship. You know, out in space, and I just think we for this at least for this pitch at least we should just kind of ignore that in my opinion and just keep everything very centered on one by one your player tile based mechanics, and
Mhm.
ship travel is just simply getting to a destination like teleporting like you've already mentioned.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think flying your ship around is something that is for a different game that other games have done a lot better. And yeah, 3D games
Yeah,
for for starters.
yeah.
Um, but
Which
yeah,
is a 3D game, but everything's flat. Like it's
yeah.
fucking
Well,
we
yeah,
yeah.
true, true. Okay, this next part, I don't even know if I stand by anymore. I kind of forgot about this, but I'll read it anyways.
Read it. Yeah.
So inventory space. This is an area where I propose to diverge from old school RuneScape. 28 inventory spaces is as core to the DNA of old school as anything, but I think in Stellar Dawn it would make sense to change it up a bit. A new account will have a low number of inventory spaces, let's say 10. This is because your starter mech suit has limited storage. As you upgrade your mech suit, you can gain more inventory space. This could also branch out to different configurations of inventory with different mech loadouts. But how about we just move on to that? I don't even know what that last sentence means.
Just the mech suit.
Okay. Oh,
Just
okay.
moving on
Oh,
because
move
the
on
next
to the
one.
next. I
Yeah.
got you. Yep. Okay.
So yeah, this was actually well. I'll have you share your thoughts first before I jump in on the inventory space. If
Um,
you've changed your mind at all or have additional thoughts.
I don't know. I feel like this. I guess I think my mentality with this was it was kind of like maybe this is an area where because it is a blank slate, we could look at that. But
Mhm.
I don't know. It is. It's just such a departure from the DNA of RuneScapes. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I stand by that, even though I wrote it.
Yeah, I think it was still good to bring up because it at least offers some space for it. I feel very resistant to and trust me, like I have even been somebody that has been somewhat open to the possibility of old school RuneScape having 32 spaces. Like somehow, and I feel I'm always conflicted. Like I don't think I actually want it, but there's just a part of me that just feels like that would be the next step to like really sort of just kind of changing metas like overnight, which
Hmm.
just very slightly. I just feel like there's some excitement about like just having 4 more inventory slots. Like okay, like every XP rate has now increased. Rune crafting, you're bringing more
Yeah.
runes. Like PVM, you have more space to work with. Like I like that, but at the same time, I think the muscle memory and the look of the client and everything else kind of just gets fucked over a little bit. And I feel like there's just this weird unfamiliarity with anything like changing the inventory space. So in my view, it's everybody has 28 inventory slots. It never changes. That's just what it is. It'll feel very, very much like RuneScape right when you jump into it, which is like so important, I think. And then all you're really upgrading is just bank space, like your actual
Hmm.
like cargo. And I think that should be able to constantly be expanded. And then the other cool thing is like I would love a quote unquote tool belt, you know, something that is storing so much shit in your suit. So you have like a separate, I mean, I would even be okay, for example, of like, I'm looking at my tabs right now in RuneScape and just having a separate tab that is additional inventory that isn't actually like you can't work with it, but it's like sort of like a portable bank space or bank
Yeah.
slot that you can't. So it's kind of like a pack yak, I guess. I didn't play back then, but having things like that, I'm actually okay with. But I want that to be like super upgrades in the future and stuff that you just
Yeah.
are kind of it's like end game stuff, I imagine. And who knows, if we're resistant to any sort of thing like that as well, I'm totally cool with too. I just think the things that should be upgraded is like ship space.
Yeah, and well, and I think part of and kind of why it leads into the mech suit is the idea of potentially like having, you know, kind of like your Tony Stark like line of different suits that you get throughout the
Ooh,
game, and you could step into one, and they would have different upgrades, you know, so you could have a skilling mech suit that would have 4 extra inventory spaces, but you know, you're back down to like 10 hit points or something. Um,
yeah,
and that could be kind of I maybe that's where my mind was at, but I think what I'm kind of realizing as you know when I read that just now, and then like hearing you talk about it, is I think a design philosophy that if this came to fruition, that I would want to be like written on the whiteboard in the center of the office is like not changing things for the sake of changing things. Like start with everything exactly the same and have motivated changes for good reason.
absolutely. And low key, I think how RuneScape does it, we're all very familiar with it and it works well, is just having bags, you know, like a gem bag and an herb sack and a whatever bag. And I just think that feels more familiar to people. And I think that would be almost just the way to go. So like and the way I see mech suits as well, actually here, let's jump into mech suit and then we'll stop
Mhm.
right where it says combat.
Okay. All right, mech suit. Another core concept of Stellar Dawn is your mech suit. This is something that characters will gain upon character creation. Besides androids, as their body is a mech suit, your mech suit will function as both your equipped items and your inventory. Upgrading your mech suit is one of the main goals and reward spaces in the game. Your suit will give you your combat stats and will allow you to traverse planets with harsh environments, and it will hold your items and supplies. Your mech suit will have a battery, which oh I which functions as your prayer points and your stamina. In Stellar Dawn, your run energy does not deplete unless your battery is also being used for shields. So there's one big change. Basically, unlimited run energy unless you're in combat, which I thought was a clean way of keeping certain combat encounters that might require, you know, keeping your stamina, but you know, one of those archaic things doing away with is just general run energy. I would totally be fine with that as a blank slate.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, like I actually am still okay with a walking mechanic, but I want run energy to never really feel like it's hindering just traveling. Like I want
Mhm.
run energy to last long enough so you can basically run wherever the fuck you want. And the only time where like energy replenishing stuff is occurring is when you're like, I don't know, doing some really tedious grind that takes, you know, hundreds of hours, something like a blast furnace or something where it's just
Mhm.
that'll be the very few places where you're having to use it. And it could even be as simple as attaching it to your suit. So it's like you don't even have to drink, it'll just auto apply kind of, and you just have like this little space in your storage. So I also want to talk about this mech suit because in my view, like because I want the game to feel so familiar, I imagine our inventory or like our gear tab looks
Mhm.
relatively the same, and we could have additional attachments, I think, in the future. But if we just kept what we currently have, what I imagine is not having necessarily a mech suit, but just having, you know, body, legs of whatever, and you can kind of like mix and match things, and
Mhm.
everything for the most part, besides like some special planets or whatever, you'll be able to breathe on any planet, like using like a certain like any sort of helmet, you know, and you can always take off your armor on your ship or on a non-hostile planet and stuff. But for the most part, you kind of need your armor, and armor in this game is just like mech suit, you know, things like, so you have like helmets and stuff and whatever, and all these things I imagine would be able to be crafted by your player, so you could like fully
Mhm.
engineer a helmet if you have like the levels for it. And but I think where I'm being lost and what I want to, I guess, clear up some of the confusion, I guess I'll have you kind of talk on this, is like, what do you imagine this mech suit being? Is it just sort of like an overlay over your guy and then you have additional armor, or is this the armor that you're talking about for like PvM?
Uh,
Because it sounds like it's kind of like an all-in-one, which is what I'm concerned of.
Yeah, I think it would be like if you imagine your equips tab, like your equip tabs, it would
Mhm.
be the same as your gear, and you still have all the different types of gear. But because it has like, you know, like a CPU, let's say, like a central like brain, it would all in universe, it would be like it would function like, you know, you get, let's say you get Barrow's gloves and you put them on just the same as you would in RuneScape, but
Mhm.
they're, you know, in the sci-fi world, it would like your gear would plug into it and it would, you know, all
Mm.
be a part of the same thing. But, you know, as far as the feeling of it, it would still be the same as you have these different pieces of gear. Um, and they're all different and unique, and you're going for chest plates, you're going for boots and stuff like that, and you're upgrading your kit. But it would, I guess, the mech suit is just kind of an overall, like it's almost like
It's like an Under
a
Armour.
synonym. Well, it's like a synonym for just armor in general in the game.
Oh,
Like
okay. So mech suit is not just one thing. It's not just like here's your
yeah,
mech suit and you're upgrading your mech suit. It's like this is just attachments. Like everything is like an upgrade. Everything is a little thing you're putting on your face or putting on your chest or putting on your legs or whatever. That's what you're
yeah.
kind
I
of
think
hinting at more.
Yeah, I would think of it kind of like the mech suit is almost like the operating system, and everything that you get, you know, you equip, and the operating system will be like, "Ooh, new gloves detected," and like, you know,
Okay.
this is much stronger for this or something.
So
But absolutely,
so it almost feels like an outlet. Like your whole body is sort of an outlet. You're just plugging things into it. Is sort of the idea that I'm thinking of. Like,
mhm.
okay, so I guess in my view, there I'm gonna probably talk in circles a little bit here. I just imagine because I just want to like clear this out. So when you're spawning in Lonbridge, are you do you immediately have this sort of mech suit sort of thing? Like, is this just like instantly on your guy where like, okay, you can now plug in your armor and stuff like your armor or whatever, like your mech suit. I just think the term mech suit is actually just confusing me because I keep thinking of like one just armor set, like boom, there's your mech
That's
suit,
fair.
you're
Yeah, no,
perfect. And I what
yeah,
I want to see is like full customization where you have different gloves and like these big fucking Hulk machine gloves, you know, like these kinds of things. And then your body gets changed, but everything can work together. It's just like RuneScape. You can obviously wear a fucking mismatched set of anything and it's fine. And everything just has its own stats. So I guess that's just a little bit of my confusion. But it sounds like we're on the same page. As everything is still going to be that sort of RuneScape. Everything has a different stats, different perks or whatever. I guess another issue I have is the storage and the prayer and everything being attached to this because I mean I can definitely see there being prayer bonus, whatever prayer ends up being, which I guess we'll kind of get into with combat.
mhm.
Anyway, so is there anything you want to say before we actually jump into combat? Because I think if we
Yeah.
bring all this in, it'll be a little bit more
So I think
sensible.
that I think this will help clear up what you're saying.
Okay.
Everything that I'm proposing is all very is a thematic explanation of what I'm talking about, but I still, like I said, I still intend for every single interface to feel exactly the same. So instead of worn equipment, that tab would just be the mech suit
I
tab,
see.
and that is where you would equip your items, and your prayer
Mm,
would just be your shields, and your magic tab would be your technology tab. Um,
okay.
and so it's just once again, you know, borderline reskinning, but everything feeling exactly the same.
Okay. I think that's good for the audience to know as well. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. So this, instead of the little worn equipment icon, it would just be this sort of like mech suit kind of thing, a little graphic. And then we're gonna jump into the prayer and the magic and stuff now too.
Mhm.
So let's jump into combat and then we'll have more to say.
All right, combat. Here we go. Combat in Stellar Dawn will keep the iconic combat triangle from old school RuneScape, but it will look different. Melee. Put your bronze dagger away and equip some sci-fi insanity. Laser swords, chainsaw arms, gigantic mechanical fists. Anything is on the table and ready to be built into your mech suit. Or we'll just say equipped. Range. You know the answer here. Guns. Laser blasters, rail guns, miniguns, anything. Mage. Okay, here's where it changes a bit. In replacement of magic, we have technology. The magic attack style will be replaced by the mech suit modifications. Think flamethrowers, missiles, gravity guns, and also alien tech. The stars are the limit.
Mm. See, I'm almost thinking flamethrowers and missiles and and stuff would be in range still. I think
Hmm.
magic. I almost think everything magic should be. Actually, here, let me rephrase this. I think range should be all like legitimate objects being fucking thrown at you, like
Yeah.
guns and bullets and missiles and even flamethrowers, kind of like that stuff. But I think lasers should all be magic, like the sort of laser and the super advanced technology that's sort of like stunning people and like disabling their
Yeah.
fucking abilities and stuff, like all that should be magic. But anything that's actual like physical, I guess a laser is still physical, everything's technically physical, but like, you know what I mean, just like
Yeah.
having the more just like light kind of things be more like magic based, just energy and waves and shit like that, like thrown at you, and like gravity stuff. I love that.
Yeah, and it's a hard balance there because I think I put flamethrowers into magic because I was trying to keep some of that like elemental spell feel,
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
have room for, you could have like like a frost mist or something, or
Ooh,
different types of elemental attacks, um,
that makes
but
sense. Yeah.
and personally, like within RuneScape, I've always liked when magic is more of the like utility of the combat, like it does, like different, not like lunars, but like I like magic not being the most hard hitting. I like it when magic it's doing things in unique ways.
Yeah.
Um, but you also have to have your shadow so you can just
Yeah.
do damage.
That's
But
honestly like the way I'm perceiving it is like, yeah, we have something in RuneScape that is like elemental spells and things and elemental weaknesses, which I love. And I think what we could have with those sorts of weaknesses that are just kind of like pinpointing into magic. So instead of like elements, we could have, well, it still could be elements technically, but it could be like, again, I'm very not that knowledgeable when it comes to like all the space theme stuff. I just haven't played many space games,
mhm.
so there's probably people out there that are like, "What the fuck are you?" It's like there's so many cool ideas, and you guys are just missing all of them. You seem like you're much more educated on those sort of sci-fi theme. So apologies to anybody listening, or you just think I'm completely ignorant on this. I do have to start watching some more space stuff and getting engaged in some other
Oh
things
man.
just to get more in the
Yeah, I've
know.
been
But yeah,
ever since we brought this up, I've been on a sci-fi bender. We went and saw Project Hail Mary. That's so good. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. If you haven't seen it, go see it. And we watched both of the Dune movies again. They're so
When's
good.
Dune 3 coming out?
Sunshine. It
Is that
is
this year?
it's this year. I
Okay.
mean, they had the trailer for it at Project Hail Mary, and it looks so good. Oh man. I love sci-fi. I think I've come to realize I prefer sci-fi to fantasy, which is crazy to me,
Yeah.
but I just love it. I love it. I love
It's
fantasy too. Don't get me wrong.
I think it's just because it almost feels less explored. Like it feels like anything that is, well, I guess fantasy is a little bit different. I'm thinking like more medieval or anything. Like anything that feels like that time period's over. It feels like there's not much room to expand, even though there is obviously so much room to
Oh yeah.
get into things. It just feels like space. It's just like the literally it's limitless. It's like anything futuristic that you can fucking come up with, you can add it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and there's a certain tone to like capital S sci-fi that just is so inspiring to me when it's, it's all based on scientists and just the way that people, and Star Trek's very much the same way where it's just the tone of people who are just trying to use logic and figure things out and find the best solution to problems is just it just warms my heart as opposed to a lot of other things where it's all about selfishness and greed and killing things just to kill things, and like that's a lot of what our other media is, and fantasy can kind of go into that too where you're the lone adventurer who's just trying to get your money and stuff, and this is a whole tangent, but I love sci-fi.
yeah,
I'll just
I
stop
agree
it
with
there.
you. I agree with you. Okay, let's jump into prayer and defense
Mhm.
first, and then before we touch
Yeah.
on skills, I'll have a little bit more to say.
Yeah. Okay, prayer and defense. As crucial as anything to the field of combat in OSRS is protection prayers. The mechanic for this in Stellar Dawn is to combine prayer and defense into shields. Your mech suit will have a baseline defense against different types of attacks based on your gear and upgrades. This will give a flat damage reduction to that style of attack. You will also have a shield generator that can be turned on to give full protection to that style of attack in exactly the same way as protection prayers. So obviously, this is keeping the overheads kind of mechanic, but it's working in some of that defense rework that a lot of people have been pushing for, the flat damage reduction. and kind of combining it all into one thing. And I think the benefit of combining it all into one thing as shields could be that you could have, if you have a flat damage reduction, that could also drain and like I guess it would be your shield slash your battery, but something is draining as you're taking damage, and you'd have to be resupplying that in the same way that you would with prayer potions. It would be batteries or just shield generators, whatever, crystals, whatever, however you want to do it. But you would have that same mechanic of that's draining over time, and you have to re-up on that.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to imagine how we could still tie in food into this, because obviously you're just a fucking piece of metal at this point. So like, what the fuck is the point of eating something? But if there were still like these sort of classic sort of, I mean, you would be catching fish or whatever meat or whatever you'd be killing with machines and stuff. Like everything would be like a little bit more like efficient. But I'm almost thinking like, how cool would it be to have still like food, and I know you're saying like batteries and stuff, but like things that are still like biological, that are still like
Mm-hmm.
healing you. But then again, I don't know, like because I want this to feel just like a reskin of RuneScape. I don't want all your food to just be something you can build, like repair kits almost, because that just feels
Yeah.
there's something missing. I want that sort of like biological sort of food necessity that you're still mortal, you still need this. That it kind of goes back to like resisting being an actual like cyborg or a robot. Like I like the idea of everything being life. So healing is still food, but how are you gonna get? And then again, like when you see RuneScape, we don't you have armor and stuff, but we're never having to repair our armor. And so I think in my version of this, I really still want to lean into just like food being the thing, even if it sounds fucking goofy, because RuneScape is also goofy. Why the fuck are you eating a full ass shark when you're bleeding out? You know what I mean? Like it just makes zero sense. You're not using bandages in RuneScape except for like in TOB, I guess, but like most of the time you're still using food when it makes literally zero sense. And I think I'm still cool with that in a space version, but everything is like way different food and stuff. And like, I don't know. How do you feel about that? That's just one of my points
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that, this is what I'm kind of getting into, the nitty gritty of like the combat and mechanics and stuff. And it's very easy, just going back to that theme paragraph that I was talking about earlier. It's really easy to pigeonhole this into the most boring thing ever, where you are a robot and you have a battery. And, but once again, I want this to be open to the most fucking crazy shit in the universe. So if you're fighting and in your inventory, you take some damage and you have to slap on some like alien, like this little tiny alien that you slap on your arm to repair your damage or something, or, just some like goo or some weird like oil, like, there could be any different, like a million different ways to heal yourself. And that's not just a boring like battery or a can of WD-40 or something. Like, I feel like, I feel like I'm getting, yeah, like I said, I don't want to get pigeonholed into the most boring version of space ever, which is just like I am a robot and stuff. And so, yes, I 100% agree that I would love to have you fishing for weird aliens that you get some paste from that you can eat. Like, I mean, that's another kind of little small branch of sci-fi. You get into stuff like Limitless or the oh, what's that? The Dread remake? Is it the Dread? Anyways, but you get into some kind of like, there's some like alien drugs and stuff that could give you some, that's your potions and stuff. Like this weird, like, we go hunt this weird creature on this weird alien planet and its poop, if you eat its poop, it gives you this crazy bonus and heals you. Like there could be so many different options for healing that aren't just batteries.
And it could just be like a chemistry skill or something, like you actually coming up with like you fucking pharmaceuticals. Just like
yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
like that will be your effects. You just fucking take a meth pill and your guy just fucking becomes overloaded. Just who knows. But so the other thing I actually wanted to talk about, this would be changing how we see old school, but and in fact, one of the first Say debates that I'm going to be doing, Sae Bae debates, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to call it, but it's going to be about flat armor and whether it's a good thing for the
Hmm.
game or not. Because right now, flat armor, there's like really no indication of it anywhere, which is the biggest problem with it. Like you don't see when something has a flat armor. You have to look at the wiki, and it's just like, what is going on here? There should be some very clear thing that's showing that you're going to be doing less damage, or this thing is going to be
Yeah.
doing less damage to you, or more damage to you. And honestly, one of the things I've always wanted in old school, which would not work right now, is having agility be the evading, like dodging skill. Like, so there's
Yeah.
defense, which is just pure raw tank. And then there's the agile skill, which is like you actually can dodge things better. So like your miss chance is higher with that. The defense becomes just so instead of defense being the chance to just hit a 0, basically like chance to miss, that would be agility or whatever that would end up looking like, which again, there could just be a totally separate defense 2.0 that's more of the evading bullets or dodging bullets or putting a fucking, you know what I mean? Like just, I
Hmm.
want almost a separate skill. So there's defense, raw tank, raw, like just girth, which would maybe how that would actually end up working is instead of it being a flat armor, it would be more like a sort of like percentage of like, so you still have the huge range of being able to hit, like let's just say your max hits a 50, you could still hit a 50. There's no such thing as flat armor, but the chance of hitting a 50 becomes slightly less the more defense you have classically. So like the chance you could still get hit a 50, so you always have to kind of prepare for anybody's max hit, which I personally love. I love just knowing exactly what your hit is, what its hit is, and that's just it. But I don't think players really care that much about the sort of percentages changing. And again, that's going to add some complexity to things. When your defense raises, the chance of you getting hit higher decreases, and the chance of you getting hit lower numbers increases. I don't know how people would feel about that, but at least in my view, that would be a much cooler option to go down instead of just having everything have flat stuff. And it's like, I don't know what the fuck my max hit is in this situation, but it's something. And then you die because you're like, oh.
Yeah. I've got this idea, and this is like, this could work in old school too, of like agility and stuff. And I know that it's like, we don't want a Dark Souls, like press B to dodge in this game. That would feel completely old school, but I don't feel like it would be outside the realm of possibility to have a boss where like, and I haven't done much Coliseum. I don't think it has exactly this, but just like right before they attack, if you click on a certain tile, your character will jump away from that attack or something. I mean, I guess we do have stuff like that, but it would be interesting if that was like integrated into agility and like you had a higher success rate or something. I don't know. You got me thinking on that side of things. But as far as the flat defense reduction, I'll fully admit that I'm definitely not the person to fully go into all of that. I'm very interested to hear the debate on that because I understood that it was like the community was really pushing for that just from the sake of, I think most of what people want from flat defense on armor is just to give use to shields and,
Yeah.
plate bodies and stuff. But no, I that's one of those things I would definitely have to trust the opinions of people who are much more knowledgeable in that stuff than I am.
And it's not even like I'm fully against flat armor. I just think it gets out of control when the enemies have flat armor too, and like you got some weird flat armor just going on, and then some random other shit's got like some. It's just everything becomes. If it was just a matter of your shields, like the players' shields have some element of flat armor, then I'm okay with it as long as like that's the limit. It's because then it actually feels like shields truly have an impact, and exactly, okay, if this guy's max hit is a 40, if I equip the shield and it has 5 flat armor, like I'm only gonna get hit at 35. That's so much simpler than like just having everything kind of have a bunch of different flat things. I love it when it's just number is number, that's it.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I would agree because I guess that was as far as my like thought of how flat armor was in general was just like
just the plate and the
yeah.
shields.
The only thing I really know about flat armor in bosses is just that people say, "Hey, use your mox here because it has flat armor," and I'm like, "All right, I'll take your word for it."
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. So
Anything else on combat? I know it's
the,
kind of.
yeah, I would say there's just a few more things,
Mhm,
which so going back to like the elemental stuff, just briefly,
mhm.
is like I imagine it being. I still want some sort of element thing, but element is very fantasy, very like sort of medieval kind of alchemy type vibe type thing.
Yeah.
And I think the way forward, and again, I am fully conceding right now that this needs to be much more thought out, but just some sort of like even like wavelength sort of magic casting. So like you have these magical weapons that are casting like just these balls of magic or whatever it would look like as the actual animation, but it would just be like certain wavelengths or something like that. So like you will look up the stats of a monster and it'll be like, oh, it's really weak to these like frequencies or something. And so you're like, oh, okay, I'll use this style. And maybe there's just simply four styles similar to the um similar to like elements, where it's just like four different kind of wavelength types, and you still
Mhm.
have these powered staves that can be used that are just like magic beams and stuff shooting at it, but you can kind of change it depending on the enemy. And I don't know, I just think that would maybe be a way forward, but again, I could just be completely missing an obvious sci-fi thing that already has some sort of like element of elements.
No, I think that, kind of what you're saying, like air, fire, earth, and water
Hmm.
feels very earth. It
Yeah.
feels very, this is, but you go out into space and they have different, I mean, I won't say they have different elements because I guess that's scientifically not true, but they have different, the worlds are just different. They have
Hmm.
everything is just so different of like a molecular makeup. And the thing I love about science fiction is that magic equals science. Like it's the same kind of concept, but it's just scientifically like explained. And that's like so much of our human history is just like, oh, so something we used to think was magic is we've just now discovered it's
Yep.
just science. And with the technology slash magic, that also is open to alien technology. And so, yeah, I imagine going to this planet where something that feels very just magical is just their local science or something. And so the world is your oyster in that sense of like what magic could look like. Just kind of all kinds of alien technology and different types of, yeah, because like instead of air and fire, you could be doing gravity and, yeah, like laser kind of stuff. You could, yeah, like stuns and stuff. You could set your phaser to stun and all those kind of things. um Ooh, that would be interesting if you could, your same laser that attacks could do a stun. I don't know. But yeah, I 100% like that is like the part of this that is the most exciting is taking what I have here and just being like, ooh, it could also be 100 million other things. And that's
Hmm.
so fun to think about.
The other thing, so when you're saying this on this sheet, you're saying like prayer would be
Hmm.
shields. So
Hmm.
when you're looking at a prayer tab, what are you imagining? Are you imagining similar prayers that we have in old school? Like, for example, redemption and like just classic protection prayers and offensive prayers that are considered shields? Like, let me know if the shields is just a replacement for the word prayer and it's just like a skin of it, or if there's something more you're thinking.
Yeah, the answer is yes to it's a reskin, and it's actually now that you mention it, there probably should be a different word for shield,
Yeah.
or a different word for prayer than shield, because when you add an offense, you add in redemption. I think those could all be part of. I see those all as part of the like the software side of your mech
Mm.
suit. Like it sends out a program that will increase your shield, your projectile shield
Yep.
or your physical shield, but also, yeah, it increases. I'm spending more battery to enhance my piety would be like
Hmm.
we're expending more battery to have more offensive power or something. So
And
yeah, I think I don't think shield is the right word for it. Now that
we
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, I think that is confusing. But also, if we want to have a sort of reskin, when you kill an enemy, what's the equivalent of bones? Because we're not burying bones anymore. how are we getting our prayer up? And again, we're going to obviously cover
Mm,
skills and stuff. So maybe we should wait for
yeah.
that. Should we wait and just
No, no, that's very
engage?
interesting. I actually hadn't thought about, uh, it would be funny if you just still bury the bones and that somehow gave you shields, but maybe you have like a bone grinder that like somehow powers your shields. I have no idea.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to think like, okay, so what we could do is blood. It could be like a sort of like somehow we've discovered in the future some way to like gather the life essence of things. So everything would have to be biological that you're collecting, but you just collect it in like this fucking storage thing in your suit or something like that, or just maybe it's just collected as a stackable
Hmm.
item in your inventory. But every single enemy has a different amount of it, and you're just collecting it, and then eventually what you do is like you deposit it into something, and it gives you almost like a I don't know what the skill would be called, but it's almost like life force or like charge or something. That's because I still want it to be scientific. I don't want it to be just be, but I also think it should be kind of biological in the same regard because again, I want to have killing things be the way you're getting your quote unquote charge or prayer level up. Like so that's definitely a discussion to be had, like of just how that would work. And again, like anybody listening to
Oh,
this right now, if you guys have thoughts, like we'd love to hear them. So leave
yeah,
that comment down.
absolutely.
Anyway.
No, I mean, it feels like what you're describing is like transmutation, where like you could take like a carcass of an animal and you take it to like a lab or an altar and like be able to break that down and recycle that into some kind of, transmutate the organism and break it down and put it in a bunch of vials and stuff, and then it comes out as some kind of usable resource. That feels very like prayer training, but also feels very sci-fi.
And then the other question, I love that first off, but I'm also thinking, what is going to be the equivalent of like quote unquote gods in this? Because there's not going to be gods, but is there like super intelligences that were like, are sort of the omnipotent things? Because then I'm thinking, okay, we could have kind of like the Zamorak, Guthix, Saradomin vibe going on, but they're just like supercomputers or super intelligences that have immense amounts of power in certain regions or whatever. And then I'm thinking, if that's the case, prayer has obviously those elements of like sort of worshiping those things. So how could we tie in this life force, getting it and then giving it to like or praying to it, or just like somehow sacrificing it to a super intelligence that we've like bound our allegiance to, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and because what I would also love to see is like fucking snowflake account. We're still calling it snowflake somehow, but like snowflake accounts that like just refuse to be bound to any allegiance, and so you just don't have protection prayers and stuff like that's like super hardcore and shit, where you just
Yeah.
have no protection. I like the idea of these super intelligences being how you're getting protection. Like it's almost like you've bound your allegiance to it. You're giving it life force, and somehow it needs it to create new technology or expand its own power. And so you're sacrificing it to one of the gods you've aligned yourself with. Or maybe you don't ever even have to align yourself with any of it. It's all just a one big super intelligence, and you kind of offering whatever it is to it. That life force is giving you extra levels, and then you can like sort of like communicate with it like telepathically or something that's giving you protection from stuff like you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
somehow I want to tie that in.
Yeah, it almost is like like it's making me think of kind of going back to like your mech suit and technology. Like maybe like you could have like I'm imagining like the skeleton of your mech suit that allows, kind of the mainframe once again. You could have different quote unquote mainframes based on certain cultures, because gods are very cultural, and so like you can have a planet that has this giant Cthulhu that just orbits around there, and that's their god, and that culture could have that mainframe of a mech suit that you could build your that could be your skeleton that you could put your armor on, and that would be that kind of quote unquote alignment. And then yeah, you go to another planet that's like the planet I was talking about, that's like entirely robot run, that has that like supercomputer kind of idea, and you could get their technology, and that could be kind of, I mean, it almost at that point would be like your blessed d'hide. um I do like the idea of, yeah, super duper creatures, but I don't know. Yeah, it's
What if it was like star power? So like you're getting your protection. But it's like I think the only reason I got this idea is because when you were just saying like separate planets have like their separate like things they're worshiping. What if it is just the star that's obviously creating all the energy for it, and
Mhm.
like it ends up becoming star power? But then I'm wondering, how do you train that? Like how does that make sense? And then like imagine a planet without a star or something that's just like this dead void thing, and then you just can't activate it because you need the sun or that star, that local star's generation to even activate prayers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of, yeah, I mean, you'd have to, it'd be like sun harvesting at that point. I'm trying to think of what skill that would feel like. I guess it would be kind of like mining almost, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Just gonna go harvest some AFK, harvest some suns.
just fucking go into the middle of the sun and just chill there. Okay, well, again, like this is something. There's so much more to talk about, so we don't need to like inundate ourselves with just one aspect of it. But it is something definitely that I'm very curious on, like how that would all work.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. No, I love it. You're bringing up points I hadn't even thought about.
Yeah, I mean that's partly the reason why. Oh my god, dude. Okay, I just opened a mystery box from a quiz random. Guess the quantity of nature runes I just got.
I
Gonna
mean,
hate it.
6-7.
Yep, you fucking guessed it.
Nice,
How?
nice.
I guess that is just the quantity. I never actually realized that that's the quantity you get. Is that just actually what you get? It's always 6-7. That's disturbing.
Is it always?
I don't know.
Huh.
I'm gonna look it up now. Actually, quiz or what was it? Quiz box or Quizmaster? Let's see. OSR's
Mystery box.
Mystery box. There we go. Yep, 67 natures, of course.
Oh, nice. They were ahead of the curve.
They were. They were. And they're past the curve too.
Yep. Yep. If me and you were talking about it, it's out of date already.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I had I've mentioned the only reason 6-7 even became part of like my fucking vocabulary really is because my girlfriend's a middle school teacher, and so she's just inundated by all the new Gen Z or I guess they're still Gen Z shit, and it's just like, so I'm hearing it every day. You know, like I not every day, but like she'll just when it was really popular, she was just getting so annoyed with it, and so I thought it would be fun to just like tease her about it, and she would tease me about it too. Like 6-7 just became a part of our stuff, and now I'm getting comments on YouTube because I still include like the 6-7 joke meme in my hardcore videos. Like, dude, like shut the fuck up about it. Like people are getting really pissed off, and I'm like, I get it, but I have to hear it as well, so I'm gonna include it because you guys have to suffer with me. Anyway, hopefully it's already sort of died down. 6-7 is just not that cool anymore, and we as boomers are making it actively uncool all the time.
I will say that well, first off, I still dab ironically, so I'm definitely behind the curve. But I went to In and Out in last week, and they skipped order number 67 and 69.
Oh my god. And 73? No.
No. I did chuckle at 73, but nobody freaked out about that.
Yeah. That's fair. I feel like even 73 is just kind of outdated now. Like nobody cares. That was more like a Twitch culture thing for a bit, and then it's just like I feel like these days nobody even like people kind of remember it, but you have to be kind of a veteran to understand the fucking meme of it. But anyway. All right, so we got to get into these skills because this is going to be probably like the beef, the real beef of this that I want to touch on. So.
Well, good. I would love to hear the beef because I feel like this is the one where it's
or not beef as in like bad thing, but like beef and potatoes, meat, the meat of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I feel like that this is I mean I'll read till the end of it and you'll see a kind of
perfect
kind of just say and everything else, but I'll read it.
Okay.
So skills. It's simply not RuneScape unless you're chopping trees, and 92 is half of 99, right? I'm glad you feel the same way. Let's look at the skills our character will have in Stellar Dawn. Bounty Hunter. No, not the minigame. Bounty Hunter is the slayer of Stellar Dawn. It will work a bit differently though. Your character will go to a Hunter's Union outpost and be able to choose from a board of bounties. No more skipping tasks needed, but the board will not reset until you have completed one of the available bounties. Do you want to talk about that one, or do you want me to go through them all?
I say we just go through them all and then we'll just take
Okay.
a huge deep dive. Just I think the audience will appreciate that.
Okay. Organic crafting. This is very similar to the crafting of old school. Anything requiring organic material, such as wood, stone, etc., would require the skill. Now, the idea of organic crafting does also leave the door open for body mods as well. I could see that being a very interesting aspect of the skill. Synthetic crafting. This skill will be used primarily to create parts to upgrade your mech suit or player-owned craft. It feels very similar to smithing, but hopefully we can learn from old school and have it be useful. Machinery. This skill is your knowledge and ability to upgrade and repair mechanical equipment. Upgrading your mech suit or POC will require machinery, as well as working on other machines around the world. This skill will be extremely useful, allowing you to create devices to give you all kinds of benefits around the game. Hacking. This is the new version of thieving. Instead of physically picking a lock, you can hack a computer lock, but it goes beyond that. Hack into ships, androids, even other players. Hacking will be useful in combination with crafting and machinery to upgrade your mech suit and POC. Diplomacy. Now, this is a left turn from old school. Diplomacy introduces branching quest lines, haggling for better prices, and non-combat conflict resolution. I'm not suggesting that you can roll to seduce the dragon, but you may be able to turn off aggression so your low-level skiller can safely go into a room full of monsters. This would also extend it into psionics, being able to read minds, maybe even another player in a PvP fight. Diplomacy is inherent to sci-fi, such as Star Trek or Dune, and I think it would fit perfectly in Stellar Dawn.
Love that.
And then you definitely inspired that one.
Yeah.
The rest, I don't need to go into every single skill because I think there is still a place for mining, woodcutting, fishing, and the rest in Stellar Dawn. I don't have much to say besides space mining, space woodcutting, and fishing for space fish. So yeah, and that is it's kind of a catch-all, but I 100% like stand by that of like, yeah, I think, I don't need to do a whole proposal for how mining, like space mining, would feel the same as mining, but it still would be like so inherent to the game that it could exist very similarly, but also very differently.
Yeah. And this is,
I guess just
yeah, go for it.
I guess just to clarify, since we've been talking about interfaces a lot, I would still 100% want there to be the exact like same number of skills, and it to feel. I would like to, part of that clean slate thing is I've always had big beef with crafting because crafting is this weird catch-all where, like, smithing is crafting, there's rune crafting, and like fletching is crafting, and so like I would love for it to feel not like that, but that's why I differentiated the organic and the synthetic crafting.
Yes.
But yes, I would still like to have it fully fleshed out, and as far as combat skills, I would still like there to be. It would be interesting, not to immediately tangent, but it would be interesting with the hindsight that we have, if we would we want to keep it as we have attack and strength for melee, but then it's just ranged and magic? It would be interesting if we either, I don't know where I would want to go on those skills specifically.
No, I was just thinking that. I was like, because either you can just combine them and just have melee, range, and or not, I guess range and whatever the skill, technology would be it, or something, something like that. But then you could also diversify even further and just have like 3 different styles of mage, or 3 different styles of range, 3 different styles of like melee. But I do like the idea of having, oh man, it's so tough because I keep thinking with a new space thing, maybe it would actually be cool to keep attack and strength, and it would still be the same, because I think that familiarity would be nice, of knowing like, okay, you can equip this at this attack level, but your strength is actually determining what's your actual max hit and stuff. And then what we could do with ranged is have like handheld sort of like range missiles and stuff, but then have like heavy duty range missiles, like something that's just like, maybe you would even need a sort of like strength requirement for it. Because one of the things I've always loved is like, or one of the things that's very odd is like, for example, you can be 1 strength, 1 attack. You can be a full skiller and use a dragon axe chopping a tree, but you can't equip it. Like, what the fuck is going on
Mhm.
there? Why you're literally equipping it, you're using it, but you can't actually equip it, which feels very odd. And I think there's definitely many solutions to not have that weirdness.
Yeah.
And especially with sci-fi, where you just kind of feel like you're, if you've ever watched, what was that movie called? Why am I spacing that? The Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh,
There
Edge
it
of
is.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, like that. Like it just feels like you can be a Tom Cruise level 3. His first day fucking waking up and just he gets in the suit and he still can use the suit just fine. Like I like that, and that means that skillers can just be fucking weak and still. And then the other thing that I have a question on is, can we still have like martial arts, like the kind of just basic hand-to-hand combat? Like, can that be a skill? Because it seems like right now everything's going to be machines. Like everything is kind of like you're just training your ability using a full-on mech suit rather than like your
Mhm.
actual ability. So that could be another route to go down. Like we could have just the actual like melee, and that's all just one skill, and it's all like machine stuff. You could have the range, you could have multiple styles of range, you could still have multiple styles of melee as well. I think that's still cool. But then you could have like the sort of just traditional combat where maybe there would be areas where you are like in a sort of CG or something, where it's like your actual raw body ability to defeat things could still be there. And like low-key, I've always wanted that kind of like this idea of being able to use your fists and stuff like quickly. Like just imagine like a
Yeah.
CG in RuneScape where you just have no weapons, but you now can like advance your guy fast enough to where he can punch every 2 ticks or even every 1 tick. He's just a fucking punching machine, and then there's like a cooldown or something, or maybe that just is a special attack. I don't know. I think there's so many fucking routes to take this, but
Well, how about this? Since we kind of talked about it earlier, and we could combine it with this. What if we brought physical fit, like your physical organic fitness,
yes.
into and combine that with the agility? Because that would
Ooh.
also, that could be your like dexterity. That feels in the same vein, and that could just be one skill of like physical. I mean, you could call it
That
dexterity,
could just be
or
HP almost, but I guess
yeah,
HP,
ooh, that
because your armor would almost be the HP. It feels like it almost feels like defense would be your like machine HP, and then HP would be like biological HP, kind of like your, I don't know.
Ooh, that's interesting. Having like if you had two different hit points to
Yeah,
where like imagine you're in a boss fight and your armor gets like blown away and you have your final stand and you're just a guy
yeah.
and it goes to your biological. That would be interesting.
It fucking
Um,
would, especially like if let's just imagine. I just want to imagine for a second. What if there really were no other races? Everybody's a cyborg. So everybody kind of has this supernatural strength already as you spawn in. Like everyone's just half human, half robot. So you still have that biological thing to you, but you still can utilize, repair kits and stuff. Kind of, you're kind of just a cyborg from the get-go, and everybody is one. And there's this ability as a cyborg to become really superhuman strength biologically, kind of, but you still are using machines for most combat because there's fucking missiles and other shit fucking
yeah,
flinging at
no,
you.
that would be very like Cyberpunk 2077, where it's like everybody's doing body mods and stuff, and
Yeah.
you're always like upgrade. Everybody has like has replaced their eyes with computers so that they can get you
Yes.
can be watching YouTube while you're doing everything. Um,
I
but
I actually
that'd be interesting.
I'm almost thinking that would be so cool, because what I don't really want in the game is to feel this absolute necessity to always have your fucking space gear on. You're just always looking
Hmm.
like a fucking huge robot transformer. I just think
Yeah.
like I do obviously want the majority of the game to be that when it comes to combat, but I want you to like have a sort of cyborg-esque. But because now that I'm thinking about it, again, this is not something I was saying earlier, but now I'm thinking if you're traveling to other planets, it doesn't make sense for a normal human to be able to fucking survive out there without like a full-on spacesuit. But if you're a cyborg, you can just pretend that everywhere is livable for you because you kind of have this
Mhm.
robotic sense of you. So you can actually walk around just when you're with your normal player outfit, and that actually allows you to just wear cosmetics too, because I think cosmetics are a huge part of old school. So being able to just wear normal clothes and other things feels very cool, especially if you're just not
Yeah.
doing anything combat related. And then I think the fact that you're a cyborg allows that to be, it would just make more sense at least.
Yeah, and I mean, it would give, I mean, crazy reward space because you could be upgrading your physical body and your mech suit. I mean, it is like you're saying, it really is if you treat the mech suit as just your armor like you would in RuneScape, and then yeah, you still have your body that you could have, I guess, like a separate set of, yeah, we're almost getting to the point where we have two separate hit points, two separate equip screens of like your clothing almost, and
Yeah.
then your mech suit, which I'm
That would
not
be
like
all right.
super opposed to.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
all right, because there clearly will be some differences. Like we can't just fully reskin everything and just make it. That would first of all, I
Yeah.
don't even think that would be as interesting. You got to have some minor things, and like you said in the beginning, as long as it's motivated change, like I think
Yeah.
that's appropriate.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
Yeah, and again, like we could have a full ass like day of brainstorming what skills could be and stuff, and just fucking go to
Oh
town on
yeah.
it. Like I would genuinely, I'd love to have like a part two. This is not me wrapping things up right now, but I'm just saying a part two for going into great detail and having brainstorm prior, and even getting the audience to kind of throw out suggestions that we could talk about of
Oh
like
yeah.
just what could the 24 skills be, or 23 skills, whatever it is, or even if it was slightly less than that or slightly more. Like I think we're probably leaning on slightly fewer skills than that technically, but yeah, whatever we can decide as skills that feel distinct enough, feel like they have enough of a working sort of like web of training methods and stuff that actually makes sense. But I'm not gonna lie, I really fucking love this sort of machine stats, and then the biological slash cyborg stats that are making you just a more capable individual. And I think, for example, if you are a skiller, let's just say you're a skiller, in order to actually use proper equipment and stuff, you'd have to be in your machine. Like you'd have to be in your full mech suit and everything, and like have something that's very, very low, just like one defense stuff that you're just like the basic stuff, in order to utilize a weapon or a tool that's fucking heavy duty. You know what I mean? Like, but you could still do it as a skiller. But if you actually have the biological capability to carry this weapon, maybe it just requires 50 whatever the fuck biological stat you have, and now you can actually just carry that without your suit. So now you can look like a pimp using this heavy duty mining beam that's just mining rocks and shit, and you don't have to wear your mech suit. Like you don't have to wear your full ass kitted out gear because you have enough biological strength to be able to like utilize it. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely think, and the other thing with the mech suits is like we think of we're definitely thinking of very like Warhammer 20K like mech suits where there's this big bulky things, but the mech suit could be something kind of like the still suits from Dune, just a very thin or small kind of thing just to keep you, like you're saying, with different, if we were just humans, it could be just whatever it takes to survive the environment and nothing more.
Yeah.
Could be like a version of that. Could even be like your graceful or something, your
Yeah.
skilling outfits.
I love diplomacy too. Diplomacy is basically like the speech skill, just actually had it with some reason behind it. I love this because, and again, in my perfect vision of this game, it would be like just a fuck ton of work of just designing trees of dialogue with branching things where like if you go a certain dialogue route with a guy, you can really get something very interesting that like no other player has gotten. Like like these webs of I mean, if you just go fucking 10 dialogues deep and every single one has 2 paths, it's like you're now in territory that's like very just like it's like you're gonna be having these sort of diplomacies that no other player really has going for it. And again, that's sort of like the perfect idea of it. Again, like in actual practicality, I don't think unless you're using like AI to generate all speech, which legitimately could be a fucking thing. as much as AI is just like, I don't know I mean, I do know how to feel about it. We're not going to get in the whole AI discussion, but like if that were to be utilized like in the actual development of this game and have like these massive strings of endless diplomacy you could do as long as your diplomacy skills high enough, and be able to get like crazy perks, and just being able to like fully skip quests, for example, and like fully be able to manipulate royalty and stuff, or just whatever is going, whoever's ruling certain areas. Like that sounds so fucking cool. But again, like the actual reality of it is like that sounds insanely difficult to code.
Yeah. Well, and I guess one benefit to that, as opposed to old school, is that once again, it's just a fresh slate. They don't have to go in and rewrite everything. They're having to write everything for the first time anyways. So it would give, even if it was just minor changes, it would be, almost like the Ring of Charos, like mega buffed up. It could, like, in its simplest form, diplomacy could be like you're saying, like you could skip steps of quests and stuff of like, oh, can you go get this for me? Well, you don't really need that, do you? Oh, that's a good point. Like that kind of stuff.
I think like diplomacy, because again, like the speech skill I'm thinking of for old school, like if that ever were to be a thing, it would be very, very basic, which would be okay. I don't think anybody would ever vote for that as a skill, but like in my view, like I'd want diplomacy to really have these catastrophic effects potentially of like, you keep fucking things up with these people, like they are always aggro now to you, but not to anybody else. So like you have, like you're in an area where like everyone's just fucking mining peacefully or doing whatever, just chatting, and you're getting fucking harassed endlessly because you chose this terrible thing of like banding with the bad guys and whatever else. Like I just think, again, going back to the insane complexity of actually coding this and making it just makes it just impossible basically. But like I want it to be impactful like in the future. I want your decisions and dialogue to mean something, and to really, it's like you're going in and you're really feeling the sense of like adventure and a sense of like actual, if I say this right now, there's no turning back really, unless I fucking apologize in the next dialogue. But like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, like it sounds like kind of what you're describing is the idea in old school of like you have an account like where you took a certain path and none of the Vyres in Darkmire aggro you, but on a different storyline they do.
Yeah.
Like just because you ended the quest one of two different ways.
Exactly. And it could be a matter of like if you have a high enough diplomacy level, you can get back to a baseline, but it requires you to fucking negotiate hardcore because you fucked things up so bad that like there still is always a way to fix things, but there could be legitimate advantages. So like one faction could be like, we want you to fucking hate these people. We want you to like blow up their whatever it is. And you do that and now they fucking hate you, but at least you've now gained insane favor with these other people. So there's always this give and take sort of, I think would be so fascinating.
And the like juggling, like the political side of it, like the juggling of different factions and like, different political movements feels more sci-fi than fantasy. And I think that's why I felt like diplomacy would fit. It feels very Dune. It feels very Star Trek. All of these, major things of like these big factions. And yeah, like you're saying, like, oh, well, if I complete the quest this way, it'll give me this reward. But then the Hunters Federation or the Exchange Federation will give me 5% more on the prices of their stuff or something, and you're having to like juggle things. Like I feel like there would be like they say the perfect deal is where neither person is like fully happy, and it would be kind of diplomacy would feel like that, where you're having to constantly be juggling. This will improve my standing here and will do this for me, and then it will take away from this other thing here. And I don't know if that means you have to, I guess the part of that wouldn't be fun was like, oh, I have to constantly go, change my favor between these two houses or something. And, we're getting into weird early Zaya territory there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they wanted, and if it turns into that, then it's, I knock out my favor with all the houses. But yeah, if it was this juggling thing of trying
as long as you're not mining fucking saltpeter to build up your favor, it's just a matter of fucking for 5 hours, with the fucking face mask. And plowing fields. Jesus Christ. I mean, seriously, that idea of favor kind of is interesting, but it has to be a fun way of like switching it around, like some interesting. And that's the whole thing with diplomacy is a little bit like it feels uninteresting because so much of it is just dialogue, but it could be interesting because if there's interesting enough dialogue and you want to get into the lore of things and you want to like and maybe even the dialogue is so much better that I feel almost like ashamed to say this, but I mean old school's dialogue is just fantastic, but I mean like there's more depth to it, as in like imagine you're really learning some real deep lore that very few players are learning because you've taken this other route with the diplomacies of people where like because like right now I think if a speech skill was added to old school, it'd just be so everyone would fucking still be space barring. It's just like okay, just move on. Or like you know you just have quest helper tell you exactly what to do, which obviously would probably be added to a game like this, which is fine. But like man, if there was just so many different routes to take, I think people would be more engaged in reading what's actually going on and like understanding the diplomacies you're actually making and like these agreements and deals
Yeah.
and
Well,
shit. I don't know.
and even if people don't want to engage with that and want a space bar, you would have to, it would be, you'd have like almost account builds based on your diplomacy. Like, okay, you'd set your quest helper to like, oh, I want this result from the quest. And so I have to
Yes.
click these dialogue options and stuff.
Oh, that's genius. Yeah, because then yeah, the people that just don't have any care for it can still just know kind of what they're getting. And
Hmm.
I think what I'm doing right now is making everything way too convoluted. Like it's a fucking video game at the end of the day, and I just want this like to feel like this immense experience where you just have all these different things. But at the end of the day, it is just like a sort of a RuneScape clone. So diplomacy really could just be as simple as a meter in each area you're at, and like the more you say the good things, the more your meter goes up, and that's just the extent. There's no like real deep stuff that's happening, but this meter just shows you, oh, as soon as you hit 70% approval, kind of like miscellany or something, you now get these benefits. And if you blow up this fucking place, you're going to lose all your benefits over here. But these people are going to worship you for a little bit. And you can take advantage of those things with your high meter. That's going to slowly kind of lower if you leave. Or maybe the lowering is actually fucking obnoxious too. Maybe just stay. Because I'm trying to think again, like the practicality of all this. Like, how does this actually function in a game? So I don't know.
Yeah,
Something.
it would take a shit ton of iteration and playtesting to figure out what would actually be fun about that.
Yeah.
But it would be very interesting to pursue that and to see what it would what the fun gameplay loop of that would turn out to be.
Yeah, it's a tough one for sure. I love the little things you mentioned. We'll move on to another skill after this, but just the simply like being able to pacify monsters and stuff based on
Hmm.
what you've done, and even being able to aggro monsters nonstop. Like that could be a fucking thing you want. You want everything to be aggro against you all the time.
Yeah.
Um, and then just trade deals. Like if you're going to a shop, you get in better deals, or if you're just whatever, just like people are happier to be around you, and it could just simply be this planet. Here's your approval rating for this planet, and it's simply just a matter of your diplomacy level. If your diplomacy level is 99, that means you can get 99 in any sort of area around the place as long as you like do enough dialogue and whatever.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to talk about was bounty hunter, so the slayer skill. What is your vision for that?
Uh, so it's hard because basically what this is doing is taking Slayer and it's turning into something that's in a lot of other games. Like The Witcher comes to mind of, there's just a board of things. But the reason I post or I kind of say it like this is mostly just I was trying to think of more it was more coming not from the science fiction mindset, but more from the clean slate mindset of what how to make Slayer the downside. Slayer is my favorite skill, but how to make the things that people hate about Slayer, which is mostly just getting tasks you don't like, how to make that feel better. And so the idea of having like a expanding number, so let's say at the start there's just two, and maybe by 99 you're at like five or something, but a available board of tasks that are out. I guess it's kind of like the port tasks. Now that I say that, I didn't even think about that, but it's kind of like that where there's one of them is, water fiends, and one of them is Dagonoths or something. And once you take one of those, you complete it, and then the board will reset, and it'll be all different options. Um, but it's instead of having these kind of loosely tied together Slayer masters, which my whole conspiracy on that, but uh, having it all be kind of tied together under this like bounty hunter union of these bounties are out, and I guess it kind of also, I don't want it to feel like hunter rumors where you're like going after a certain item or
I
something,
actually
but
don't mind that. I I really wouldn't mind that,
I,
Loki, but maybe other people would because you do want things. And if unless it's motivated enough, we could just keep it as you got to kill all of them. But
I guess it could be, because I've thought about that too. I guess kind of slight tangent, but I've thought about that as well. Like, what if Slayer worked the same as Hunter Rumors?
mhm.
And it would be nice for shitty tasks. And it could also add a reward space of like, oh, maybe, I don't know, if you wear this gear or if you unlock this Slayer unlock, you have a higher chance of, kind of like it does with the Hunter outfit, where there's a higher chance of the task being done sooner. But I guess they could just, I mean, if you wanted to do the whole task or something, then you could just not pick up that item or something.
You know what would also be cool is when I think of Slayer, and again, this is like more of a broader discussion with people, like how they would want, like how would a perfect Slayer skill look? I think that's just like a whole thing that I don't have the answer for it. But if we had enough community like feedback to imagine a fresh slate of what Slayer could be as the most fun version of it. The other thing I'm thinking is I want all these bounty hunter tasks, like every single bounty hunter creature, to really have a fucking function to it, like a real
Yeah.
reward, like a unique that's actually valuable at every stage. I feel like right now we're playing a game where like get fucking steel boots, then you get mithril boots, and they just like all these fucking
Yeah.
boots just suck ass. Like there's no real
Yeah.
use to any of it. And so if every bit of it had an actual reason to do it. And again, it comes back to the clean slate of just being able to fully design something that makes sense. Is super
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, you don't have like the archaic Slayer monsters from that when Slayer was just a nothing skill, and then you hope for the tasks of monsters that actually have drops you want. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
100%. Um,
Ooh,
I that would go ahead.
I was thinking, so like we're definitely gonna have some sort of magic or technology thing that's gonna be like ice barrage, I imagine. We're like stacking up enemies, and then I was also thinking, imagine like machinery. That skill will be like how you build your cannon, and that becomes like your little thing that you're doing
Oh
like
yeah,
multi tasks in. Just like have your fucking cannon shooting shit. Sick.
just it'd be like your drone. You just fly your drone up and start shooting everything.
Yeah, I mean, even like imagine, having a sort of like ranged giga machine gun on your back. So like you're meleeing stuff with the fucking sword, but you have like these two like towers above your shoulders that are just shooting shit as well. So you have this like insane setup. You got your cannon loaded up, you're meleeing shit, but you got two guns above you that are just blasting shit. Like this would be a total massacre if you're like in the end game, and you got all these insane upgrades. Like Slayer would just be giga.
You just get into orbit and line your spaceship up with the Slayer dungeon and just shoot like
Just shoot a beam, the
Death Star
death beams at the
Yeah.
enemy. Just
Slayer
vaporize.
task completed in one tick.
Yeah. Oh my god. Because I do feel like I keep imagining this sort of space thing as like something different than RuneScape mechanics, and then I keep getting pulled back of like, okay, no. It's like it's still RuneScape. It's still that classic dungeon feel, that classic just tile based game. And I think there's so much that I'm like for example, the diplomacy, I think I just went way too hard on, because like that's not, the dialogue is not what's fun in RuneScape really, but it does sound cool to still have a skill like that where there is some utilization in being able to manage and manipulate people and stuff like. But yeah,
Yeah.
when you actually get grounded again into RuneScape, because I keep fucking going to the atmosphere of like, oh my god, all these things, but thinking of the actual basics and the foundations of RuneScape, like a bounty hunter just sounds dope.
But that's how, I mean, that's how the creative process works though. You gotta go really far, and because that's what gets you excited. And then you gotta, kind of come back down to earth and figure out what it would
Yep.
really look like.
Would you imagine? So let me get your take on skills in general. Do skills still have 13 mil XP to get to 99? I'd almost say yeah.
Yeah, I would say yes. I do like, and I know that their intention with sailing was more of this idea of a smoother progression. You know, slower to start, faster at the end. And I would like if skills felt like that. You know, obviously in RuneScape, I criticize all the time the skills that the wiki says. You know, 1 to 30 quests, 30 to 99 one thing. Obviously,
Yes.
that would be clean slate, you know, obviously all that kind of stuff. But I still want this game to be grindy as fuck. I mean, that's what I love about RuneScape.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to. It's not RuneScape unless I'm a little bit miserable. And
Yeah.
you know, I've been doing agility this whole time we've been talking. So like, yeah, I feel like that is as core to the DNA of RuneScape as anything else. Is it being very grindy? It would be interesting if I don't know. I was gonna say if 50 was half of 99, but no, I mean
Nah, let's
that
keep
just
it.
doesn't feel right.
We'll keep it, but I think what is interesting is, I mean, as a kid, for example, there were no quests that were shooting me up. I mean, there were quests. I just was fucking clueless as to quest
Yeah.
rewards. But like getting to 40 attack and strength was a fucking grind. And it is still in this game. If you were to just kill cows and shit from level 1 upward, like that shit is no joke. Like that's a serious grind. Um, and there's part of it that's actually quite nice. I don't really have a strong stance on whether or not we could just go the sort of old school route where you're just jumping fucking 30 levels, because ultimately I would say if we were to revert what we have in old school and everyone has to fucking grind cows and stuff, it would be not a great experience, I think, for people. Just the contrast of what we know.
Yeah.
Because even sailing feels like shit in the early days, because every other skill, it just feels like you're quickly getting through it. And sailing, they went down the other route. So I'm not actually particularly against the sort of jumping up skills. But what I do want to see, and this is kind of going back to smithing, is I want your gear to actually mean something. So like, for example, like runite, whatever that would be crafting wise, would be like level 80 or 90 or something, as like,
Hmm.
again, like those sort of whatever armor you're wearing, like the stuff that you can actually craft goes up a fucking high ass level. And I would even be okay. I don't actually know. Again, not a very strong stance on this either, but I like the idea of like getting something and having to actually smith it yourself, or kind of design it yourself, so you get the drop from the enemy and it's not a perfect sword or armor piece or whatever you got. You kind of got to manipulate it. But at the same time, and the reason I don't hold a strong stance is I do think there's something super fucking fun about just getting an item and it's already used. You can just pick it up and start using it. So it's sort of like you were kind of picking and choosing what kind of works. And I think there's going to be so much more community involvement in deciding how that would look, because we want the game to still feel like old school. We don't want things to just feel overly grindy just for the sake of like having a clean slate. We still want things to feel relatively speedy at certain stages, but we don't want, well, I think what we don't want is for bronze to rune, the classic shit, to be done within 2 quests. Like, oh, you can wear rune now. You can fully rock the best classic stuff instantaneously. I think that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is that still like, so the RuneScape skills, like the classic skills and the way we have progression, especially smithing, is that we have a game where you can jump from level 1 to 30, but it's a game that wasn't programmed that you were going to be getting to level 99. And so like everything is like, you know, most skills you get most of the stuff you want by level 70. And so a game where they know that people are going to be maxing and they're going to be getting 99s and like every single skill, they can tailor the progression to that. And so yeah, like maybe smithing, you can, you know, as an analogy, you can start smithing, like you get steel at level 40 or something, because they know that that's going to be pretty fast and you're going to start to get to the good upgrades later. And so they can base all of their levels around just knowing, they know their player base now. I don't think they knew their player base. You know, Andrew Gower didn't know the degenerates he was going to create.
Mm-hmm.
But now that they have that in mind, they can have the skill progression. You know, you can have unlocks at 98. Like we have some of that now, but there's a lot of skills where you're pretty much done by 70.
You know what?
And yeah,
I'll actually add on to that. And like, I actually think if this were to be a real project and a real game that were to come out, I actually would not be against them sort of arbitrarily capping everything at around level 70 or 80, because then
Mhm.
future updates all allow further progression. If we just from the get-go make everything up to like level 98 and stuff, it can kind of just ruin that. Like, okay, fucking, where do we go from here? Do we just go to cap level 120? Like, what have we done to
Yeah,
ourselves?
that's fair because that also you could also say that's the problem with smithing is that that's the other kind of way they went about it. It's like,
Right.
oh, rune is the best it's ever going to be.
Yep. No, I mean, you're right. Like, I actually think actually capping things around the level 70 mark would be okay, because what it means is, again, this is sort of like the practical, if this game were to come out, how this would look. But then players don't have this impending dread of like, well, every fucking player had, every neat out there of it just not working is just going to fly ahead. And then all of us working folk are just like kind of like capped at this shitty stuff because we just don't have enough time to sink in. But if everything was kind of around level 70, kind of gives everybody that huge grace period before the next big expansion, where like they feel like they can get to that sort of top end and keep training up to level 99 if they wanted. The other thing that's really cool is you really can balance XP rates a lot more appropriately and have skills not be potentially 400k an hour like fire making. Like, you could actually like tone back kind of like everything, and making every kind of skill, as long as it's fun. I think that would be another thing I'd love, is like if the skilling in this game was actually fucking fun, which there is a recipe for that, but the devs haven't figured it out and the players haven't figured it out, like what that actually means to have an engaging, fun skilling flow to things. But if that were the case, I wouldn't be against skills kind of capping around the like 200k XP mark at the top end, and everything kind of being a little bit more squeezed at that lower range. So like you're not just hitting a level,
Mhm.
like a level 99 feels really impressive. And again, with a clean slate, I mean, you could even have skills kind of capping around like the 100k range potentially, and like that means a clean slate. Like, all these levels mean something again, and because again it's a fully clean slate game, everybody's going to be playing that. Like, so anybody that's jumped over the 2004 Scape server, just as an example, like everything's fucking slow as hell back then, but you kind of feel this insane progression, or this insane accomplishment, this insanely nice feeling of actually getting a 99 again, which we kind of have in old school, but it's not quite the same. It feels like almost maxing is that 99 feel that we used to feel back in the day. So
Yeah, yeah, it's 99s are they're not as impressive as they used to be, unfortunately.
yeah. Ooh, what would 99 capes be?
Yeah, that's interesting. I was thinking about because so I was worried when I was kind of thinking about all this about capes because wearing a cape in general isn't super sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
But then we rewatched Dune and there's capes all over that shit. So I feel like
Oh, hell yeah.
I
We can
feel
still
I
do
feel
it.
like you can still have
Yeah.
capes. Yeah. I don't know what it would look like. I don't know if
I
I
mean,
don't know.
low key, when I think of like right now, when I'm thinking of like a pimped out mech suit thing, I'm thinking of like a fucking Blood Torva or something, or like a Radiant Oathblade.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of vibe, very chunky, but a cape still looks fucking fire on it,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and
it
and
looks
I
like
doubt.
almost like the Quiver Max cape where you still have like your like oxygen tank on the back, but the rest of the
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's like I don't imagine we're gonna have jetpacks and shit in a RuneScape version of a sci-fi game. So like,
yeah.
there's no real need to have a sort of like fucking, I don't know. I mean, and the thing is, you could even have a sort of shoulder slot and a cape slot. So something that's on your shoulders,
Mhm.
like machine guns and shit shooting, but you can still have your badass cape. And there could be obviously replacements to the cape, but I think it would be all right. And again, like a lot of the time, if you're just doing basic skilling or just chilling with people in a hub, you're not going to be wearing your full ass armor. You're just going to be wearing some cool fashion scape, and wearing a cape with that would look fucking dope, like a cloak. So
Yeah. I think that's one of my biggest takeaways from this conversation is I hadn't even thought about time spent outside of your mech suit
mhm.
before, but I think that would be like at least half of your time, if not more. I mean, anytime you're not geared up, I
Yeah,
think
just like
that
RuneScape.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. The fashion scape of it. How could I forget the fashion scape?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that was definitely an important part, is just understanding like we want something to kind of feel like RuneScape. Fashion is so fucking important. Cosmetics are great. we don't want to, like, if RuneScape was all just everyone's wearing their rune armor and their Bandos armor and their Torva everywhere, it just feels boring. And again,
Yeah.
I just kind of go back to that cyborg aspect of like, if we're all cyborgs, it makes sense to be able to be naked, like not naked, but like in our basic
Mhm.
clothing on different planets with different oxygen. And oh, by the way, I wanted to say on different planets that have like lower or less sort of gravity going on with it. I was thinking, what if there was like some planets that had like a lower sort of gravity and you can actually run 3 tiles per tick? Just like these
Yeah.
weird ass planets. And then like there's some where you can only walk and it's just, I mean, that would be terrible. But
The misery planet.
yeah, just the fucking like heavy gravity. But you could have suits that have different
Mhm.
gravity effects, you know? Like, so you're actually being able to just run fast on these lower things if you have the suit for it.
Yeah.
And they could just be
100%.
boots. Who knows? Maybe boots are like the new gravity boots, you know, moonwalk boots.
Oh, the moonwalk. You just go backwards everywhere.
Well, I was thinking of that Malcolm in the Middle episode where they got like the moonwalkers, or what were they called? The moon boots, and like fucking Dewey is like imagining him like bouncing up and down, like going to school, and then Hal's
Oh
imagining
yeah,
him
yeah,
like
yeah.
bouncing up and down with these moon jumpers. You know
I
what I'm
got you
talking
now.
about? Do you
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah, yeah. It just has like the little like it has like rings like plastic rings on the bottom to let
Yeah,
you bounce
it's just like
around.
springs, just like a fucking spring
Yeah.
boot. Yeah, I think they were called moon something, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Okay, there was some other things I wanted to talk about, which was first
Mhm.
off, the fucking music, man. The music is gonna be sick in this game. All
Oh
the
yeah.
new MIDI
Oh
tracks that are like they should actually like low key, they should add some of the like familiar tracks that we're used to and just like spacify them, like make them
Oh hell
futuristic
yeah.
sounding.
Space Shanty too.
Yes, holy shit. Fucking oh, and then all the scape songs is just space. So you just literally replace the P and the
Oh yeah.
C. I want
Oh yeah.
I want Space Cave, you know. That would be a banger and a half, low key.
Oh yeah. We should have just called this Rune Space.
Yes. Oh my god, rune space. Oh, ooh, okay, okay. So that was another question I had was runes. So we have these elemental runes in RuneScape. What is that gonna be in the sort of space version? You know, like how are we crafting runes? Like, is that even gonna be a thing? Just scrap rune crafting entirely. No, but like low key. And then kind of, you know, because your lore is set in a sort of like actual earth and like an actual, you know, modern society kind of that has
Mhm.
advanced, whereas
Yeah.
in my view I would like it to still have that Gillinor theme where everything is just progressed and we understand the science behind rune crafting. So it used to be magical, everything used to kind of be magical, but now there's explanations for everything. So like,
Yeah.
oh, this is all just energy being powered in here, and we've discovered a way to just fully power things without traditionally running to a fucking altar. We just have these like power energy sources that we're gathering what was classically known as runes, which could be sort of seen as like astrology back then, and now we have,
Ooh.
you know, astronomy, but it's like the runecraft version of it where like we understand why this is working and how we're getting this power, and we've now used this back in the past what was called rune magic. It's this just different technology basically, and we are powering our
Mhm.
staves with that and like shooting things with it.
Oh yeah. No,
Because
that's
yeah.
because yeah, it would almost be like that is a I can't think of a word besides unobtainium from freaking Avatar.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's like that's the element that makes this fictional, and you can almost make that like that's the thing that powers. Like, yeah, we find out that the what we've been using to make runes is really what has been being used by other cultures to like develop space travel, and we find out a way to harness it in a new way, and so runes take on and it would it's cool in the sense of that would it would make it even more RuneScape in the sense of keeping the runes in RuneScape.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could still craft runes, but they would like I guess it would be like an energy source, and it could power your I mean, yeah, you could slot runes into your suit in a way that would or even break them down into different type of configurations. They don't have
Hmm.
to be like circular runes, but they could still it would be like essentially we find out that the rune essence is just this material that can be imbued with energy of different types,
Yeah.
and we can craft that into different forms to
Hmm.
be used for all kinds of things.
And low key, I mean, I know I was sort of against that sort of elemental vibe. I don't know what the sort of advanced technological sort of elements would be, but yeah, now that I think about it, 100% we need that sort of rune vibe going on where we have like law
Yeah,
runes and
tied
nature
in.
runes and other things in there, but it's like a very, very futuristic version of it, whatever that would look like.
Gravity runes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there's so much. Also, I think you had mentioned somewhere on here was it under skills? Let me see the skills. So hacking. So hacking was something
Yes.
where it's definitely going to be like the thieving skill in a way, I
Hmm.
imagine.
Yeah.
And you know what I really love is like when you're picklocking something. Like I love the puzzles. What are the puzzles that are seen in like Sins of the Father when you go to that door and you have like the little like it's sort of like the combination lock where you are understanding like how many things you have right in the row, but how many things are just in a
Oh
different
yeah,
position.
they've been
What
doing a
are
lot
those
of
things
those
called?
recently. Yeah,
I
I have
love those.
no idea. It's like I don't know why. Like it's like a spring puzzle or something. Because yeah, it's like the different heights of them.
Yeah, yeah. I love those. And I was thinking like, man, like picklocking stuff, like, yeah, we can still have the classic just spam clicking stuff, but I would low-key love to have some unique sort of puzzles like that where that's the sort of hacking interface, you know, like if you're trying to hack
Hmm.
something, that's sort of like the interface, like you just depending on how fast you do it or whatever, how many tries it takes, that's like your XP or something. I don't know.
I've always thought the obvious thing to do with like thieving to make it more engaging is to steal the Vardorvis, the captcha thing from Vardorvis, and have that for picking locks. Because I always
Yes.
find that so engaging, and just having different formations of that to pick locks on stuff.
You're right.
I think would be really
And you
fun.
could have advanced pick locks where they all have a number on it, or you have to click the number in order or something.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'd
So
be
it's a
cool.
little bit less of just all right, spam all these. But maybe all the easy level ones are just they don't have the numbers, only the advanced ones. Because I could actually see that. I mean, it would be like what are those point precision games or those click precision games or even I think I saw Hikaru Nakamura doing that the like if you know who I'm talking about, the chess grandmaster, he was doing he just has an insane fucking memory. So he's playing a game on the
Mhm.
computer where it flashes for a second of, or not even just a second, but it'll flash for, 10 seconds or something. It'll show
Mhm.
like 30 fucking numbers of just like splats everywhere. And he memorizes it. Like he looks at it and then it all goes back to nothing. And he clicks the exact order of exactly what it was. And he does just bases it off of like his insane memory. And I'm like, holy fuck. Like, that's
God.
insanity.
Yeah.
But if we as RuneScapers that are a little bit more dull than chess grandmasters, we could have it like so it's just like six splats and it flashes for a little bit and you sort of kind of got to memorize the order and then
Yeah.
it flashes back
Yeah.
because
There's a lot of options for that. Yeah.
there is this slight part of me that enjoys, actually not even a slight part of me, I should just say there's a big part of me that enjoys skill expression in an actual video game. So for example, if you're
Mhm.
really goddamn good at PVM, like Mulgo Kirby's going for his low level Zuckhelm or like Porkazard or something, like you could just, it doesn't matter what your skills are, you just go in and do shit at lower levels. And it would be cool to see like thieving or this hacking skill, you can fly through it if you're just an actual smart human that can figure out
Mhm.
puzzles quickly, and like your XP is just going to skyrocket if you just know what you're kind of doing. And
Yeah.
again, I think I sort of preface it as like I slightly like this because I don't want the game to just feel like if you're actually just a really fucking smart individual, you just fly past everybody else. That's just like normal intelligence. Like that doesn't sound
Yeah.
super fair, but I don't know, just something to consider.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff I put into hacking, it was very much like I'm just throwing something out there. I don't even know what it would mean because I said like you can hack into other people's ships or even hack into like other people during PvP. I
Mhm.
don't know what that means, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, dude, think of the pets. How cool that would be. Like you'd have to have alien pets. Like there's fucking weird aliens and stuff following you. Or there'd be like cyborg, like earthly animals that are like cyborg version that can be on other planets and breathe.
Oh
Um,
hell yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah, so many options.
Anyway, yeah. So do you have any other thoughts on this before we kind of like wrap things up for this part one of Stellar Dawn?
No, I mean yeah, it's just I mean everything is just so, just I mean, from my point of view, it's just I'm just throwing stuff out there. I mean, you can just tell from the conversation that we've had how much of it is just like this could be so cool, and everybody brings something different to the table. Everybody has different things they're interested in,
Mhm.
and everybody also has their individual axis to grind with old school, and there's so many things that could be smoothed out and improved. And so you have this like this opportunity of theme and this opportunity of mechanics, and come having both of those, you know, coming together and being like, oh, this thing could be improved from the mechanics, and oh, this thing from the theme of this science fiction series that I love and stuff. And you know, I see Stellar Dawn as something where, you know, you can go to something that feels like Coruscant from Star Wars or Blade Runner, and then you can go to something that feels like Dune, or you can go to something that feels like a completely different, like all these different worlds coming together in a way that, you know, we have that in RuneScape, but it just, I don't know. Yeah, there's just something about, like we were saying earlier with the space fantasy. It does feel like the horizons are expanded, and the biggest struggle with that is to not have it fall in the pitfall of sci-fi, which is to have all of the humans be in these very generic mech suits, and to have all of the aliens be these very generic gleek-glops. But
Yeah.
I think that using you know, using this kind of stuff as a template, there's just so many different avenues you can go down to make it feel as varied and interesting, to as much as, if not more so, than old school.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, dude. Like I am getting so fucking excited about, and this is where I see it. Like is what I was looking forward to with something like Project Xanaris, of like building an
Hmm.
entire world from scratch, but having the same RuneScape mechanics for everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, even beyond sci-fi, I'd be okay with a like a Western version of RuneScape, or just any sort of skin you can attach to it. Like really,
Oh yeah.
there's just endless amounts of ideas you can come out with. I guess not endless. I mean, there's clearly a few like big ones, but it's just it's so fucking cool. And I mean, even even I know this is like probably the goofiest, but even a modern RuneScape where it's like
Oh
fully
yeah.
modern society, you just got like fucking GTA vibes going on, like, but it's like RuneScape world, like that's a possibility, you know, just have like actual like fucking office buildings and stuff you're going in, and just whatever the fuck's going on.
No, that's
Yeah.
no, it's funny you say that, because like I don't know, maybe me and you are different from other people, because I've always felt that way about like other things, like other games as well, because like you said modern, and it just made me think of like with like the Dark Souls. Like I love the From Software games, and I've always thought like, instead of them making, you know, another fantasy game, like I wish they would just take what is so great about Dark Souls and Bloodborne and stuff like that and Elden Ring, and yeah, do freaking modern, do, you know, freaking sci-fi, like those, like take, like what is fun about a video game is the mechanics at the base of it, and do that and give it some different themes and stuff. I would love to see that in
Hmm.
all kinds of video gaming worlds, but specifically for RuneScape for this conversation.
Yeah. Oh my god. Now I'm like thinking of a modern RuneScape where like you hit the fucking gym to get strength levels, you know, like you hit the bench machine, that you got to like eat your food, you got to get your protein in, you fucking make your guy jacked, and then like you fucking have POHs everywhere around the world and shit, and you drive your car and just buy a new car on RuneScape.
And then you can go play RuneScape inside of the modern RuneScape.
Yes. Yeah. That is the video game we're playing. That's reality video game right now that we're
Oh,
playing.
okay, yes.
Like we're playing a video game right now. Like we are the character, but we've decided to play a video game in the video game right now. So
Which
it's
is what the person running my simulation is doing right now.
yeah, exactly. So he wants to play. He doesn't want. I mean, listen, if RuneScape right now had the option of playing RuneScape inside RuneScape, I'd be fucking sucked into that, you know? I would just be playing RuneScape in RuneScape, because then it feels like an extra layer of like not caring about what's on the outside world, you know? So it's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Trey, this has been an excellent conversation. I've been loving the brainstorming.
Yeah.
Definitely, like all the brainstorming has actively been changing my perception of how this game could look. So I feel like our early conversations, like just earlier on, it feels like things have already kind of shifted. So
Yeah.
um, I really want anybody listening right now, if you have some interesting ideas, fucking share it. Me and Trey will definitely be just looking at all the comments
Oh,
and just kind of
absolutely.
seeing what you guys have to offer, because we definitely missed so many things on this one. And if you guys have ideas of skills or how to like implement runes or something into this world, or just any other things that we've missed or that we haven't talked about, we'd love to hear it. But Trey, do you have any final words before we wrap things up?
No, listen to Say More.
Yes, yes. If you guys enjoyed this conversation with Trey and you guys have not checked out the Say More episodes, we got about 20 of them now, and one that we're going to be recording this Saturday. So definitely check that out. And what was it, episode 19 or 18 where we first were talking about this? Because I think we've done 20 now. So was
It
the
was
episode
it
just
was
before
two
last?
ago.
Okay. I think it was
Yeah, it was
19.
two ago.
So listen to that one if you guys want a little bit of a the sort of like beginnings of these conversations, what our first ideas were on it. So anyway, yeah, thank you all for listening, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Bye.